Chapter 308. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Weapon Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type Kdred, and tell me secretly. The news of Lin Feng's return was not made public. So far, only Zhao Duo and Lin Yun knew about it. This time, it was rare for them to keep a low profile and enjoy a period of peace. However, their thoughts were quickly dashed. Because the Supremes of the Eternal Continent were still wreaking havoc on the Greenwood continent, and the flames of war were still burning. As the native Supremes of the Greenwood continent, they naturally couldn't allow outsiders to do as they pleased. Not long after, Carefree Supremacy, Fluttering Snow Supremacy, and the others bade farewell. They planned to first deal with the Supremes of the Crafting Sect, Church of Liberty, and Dark Vatican before returning to the Zhao capital to fulfill their 10-year promise. Lin Feng didn't stop them. He gladly agreed. That night, the group gathered in the civil and martial hall of the Chaoyang Palace and drank 300 cups of wine. The next day, Carefree Supremacy and the others bade farewell in a hurry. Dozens of Supremes flew toward the Great Qin Empire. They didn't care if the Grand Qin Empire was destroyed or flourished, nor did they care if the Grand Qin Empire won or lost. They just couldn't allow the Azure Wood continent to be dominated by a group of outsiders. After all, this was their homeland. They lived on this piece of land, so they naturally couldn't watch as this piece of land fell into the hands of outsiders. After Carefree Supremacy and the others left, Lin Feng also bade farewell to Zhao Duo. Then, Lord Blackrice, Du Tong, and Sha Xing followed Lin Feng and Lin Yun to Qingfeng College. After everyone left, Zhong Wei smiled and said, "It seems that befriending Lin Feng at all costs was the wisest decision your Majesty has made in your life." Zhao Duo nodded with emotion. "Yes. To be able to befriend Mr. Lin is the blessing of the Zhao Kingdom, the royal family, and the Emperor. From now on, the royal family of the Zhao Kingdom will support Mr. Lin with all our might. If he wants essence stones, I'll give him essence stones. If he wants materials, I'll give him materials. If he wants people, I'll give him people. I'll satisfy any of Mr. Lin's requests at all costs." On the way back to Qingfeng College. "Has Qingfeng College been disturbed recently?" Lin Feng asked. Lin Yun shook his head. "It's all right. There's basically no outside interference. The students are all very serious." Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. "As long as you're fine and Qingfeng College is safe, I'm relieved. By the way, Lin Yun, how did you cultivate to mid-level Supreme Martial Artist all of a sudden?" Lin Feng asked doubtfully. "Before you went into seclusion, you were only at the 6th or 7th level of cultivation, right?" Lin Yun scratched his head and transmitted, "I'm not too sure either. However, it probably has something to do with the Saint Soul that you mentioned. I went into seclusion for about 5 months, during which I somehow managed to break through to mid-level Supreme Martial Artist. Furthermore, I also gained a wealth of combat experience for no reason. It's just that I haven't really fought with many people, so I didn't have time to fully digest these combat experiences. Therefore, when I fought with high-level Supreme Martial Artists, I was still a little weak. If I fully digest these combat experiences, perhaps even high-level Supreme Martial Artists may not be able to defeat me." "Saint Soul?" Lin Feng was getting more and more curious about this thing. "What is it? How did it allow Lin Yun to grow from a mere 3rd rank to a 4th rank Earth Warrior to a mid-rank Supremacy in just a year?" This kind of speed made even Lin Feng feel apprehensive. At the same time, he was also very puzzled. Since the Saint Soul had such an effect, why didn't the old dean, Xie Qiufeng, use it? The Xie family had obtained the Saint Soul for so many years. Why hadn't anyone integrated and refined it? After thinking for a long time, Lin Feng couldn't figure it out. He simply stopped thinking about it and said, "Forget it, don't think so much. Anyway, this is a great thing for us." "I think so too." Lin Yun nodded. After returning to Qingfeng College, Lin Feng didn't disturb others. He only called Fu Yi, Jiang He, Qiaowen, and Yao Yongkai, these few disciples. Teacher. When they saw Lin Feng, they were all pleasantly surprised. Lin Feng smiled and said, "How have you all been?" Fu Yi's eyes were slightly red. "Teacher, we all miss you very much." A moment later, Lin Feng pondered and said, "Teacher just specially came to see you. Soon, teacher will go out to do something. The time is temporarily uncertain. It may be a long time, or it may be soon. In short, don't think too much and don't worry about teacher. You just need to practice diligently and don't slack off. When teacher returns, I will check the results of your practice." "Yes, teacher," they said respectfully. Lin Feng waved his hand. "You all can go first." After Fu Yi and the others left, Lin Yun asked, "Brother, are you going to join forces with the 8 superclans?" Lin Feng said in surprise, "How did you guess?" "Brother, the 8 superclans are very mysterious and powerful. Can you not go?" Lin Yun persuaded. Lin Feng smiled. "No one knows better than me when I join forces with the 8 superclans. Moreover, I still have a trump card. When the time comes, I'm not afraid that they won't submit. So, your worries are unnecessary." "Then can you bring me along?" Lin Yun asked. "That won't do." Lin Feng shook his head and said, "You just need to obediently stay in Qingfeng College and cultivate diligently. You don't need to worry about other things." Lin Yun said anxiously. "But brother," Lin Feng interrupted him domineeringly. His tone was indisputable. "I said no, it means no. Lin Yun, are you not going to listen to your brother?" I. Lin Yun lowered his head and struggled internally. Seeing her like this, Lin Feng's heart softened. He sighed and said, "Although I am confident, there is always the possibility of accidents. If you go with me and something really happens, then the Lin family will have no descendant. This is absolutely not allowed. Moreover, Qingfeng College also needs an expert to hold the fort. If you go, then who will hold the fort in Qingfeng College? If Qingfeng College is attacked by foreign enemies, who will deal with it?" He persuaded Lin Yun with emotion and reason. In the end, he persuaded Lin Yun to give up the idea of joining forces with the 8 superclans. However, while Lin Yun agreed, he also made a request. "Brother, I can choose not to go, but you must promise that you will come back safely." "Haha, I promise you," Lin Feng said with a smile. "I will definitely come back safely." Lin Feng stayed in Zhao City for less than a day before embarking on a new journey. Under the scorching sun, Lord Black Rice, Poison Eye, and Kill followed Lin Feng to the connecting mountains. This time, Lin Feng kept a low profile and did not make any noise. There were not many people, only 4 of them. The 4 of them shuttled through the clouds at an astonishing speed. After images appeared in the places they passed by, layer upon layer. It looked like a fast-moving slideshow. This was Lin Feng's second time heading to the Crosswalk mountain range. The only difference was that the last time he had brought a large group of people to the Crosswalk mountain range, attracting the attention of countless experts along the way. His own strength was extremely limited, so he had to rely on unfettered sovereign to carry him, barely keeping up with the group's speed. But this time, he had already stepped into the Supreme Being level, and his comprehensive combat strength was not inferior to any mid-level Supreme Being. Coupled with the 3-striped spiritual armor, even a high-level Supreme Being would need some time to defeat him. At the same time, there were only 4 people going to the connecting mountains. The number of people was greatly reduced, but Lord Black Rice, Poison Eye, and Kill's strength was far beyond unfettered sovereigns. "This time, no one can stop me from taking revenge." Lin Feng's eyes were sharp. "Whoever stops me will be killed." He was not fond of killing, but it did not mean that he did not know how to kill. By the time the scorching sun rose over their heads, the 4 of them had already appeared in the Lianzong Mountains. It was still the same tall mountain. The ancient city had been repaired by a large amount of manpower, and now it had been restored to its original state. There were no signs of damage at all. The shattered mountain had been gathered together by a force once again. However, many places were bare, and there was less vitality and more desolation. In just 2 months, this mountain and this city have been restored to its original state. Lin Feng was surprised. The connecting 8 big families is really something. Kill curled his lips. What's the big deal? Believe it or not, if I were to do it, I could do it in 10 minutes. Poison, I said unhurriedly, same. Lord Black Rice looked straight ahead and said lightly, no one will think you are mute if you two don't speak. Then, Kill and Poison, I immediately shut their mouth. They were not afraid of anyone in the world except for their big brother, Lord Black Rice. This kind of fear was not pure fear, but reverence. Haha, let's go down. Lin Feng did not join in and changed the topic. Lord Black Rice nodded and landed slowly. There were no guards at the gate. It seemed that the connecting 8 big families had not fully recovered from the previous battle. The group of 4 passed through the gate of this ancient city. Along the way, they met a few people, but they were all young people from the 8 major clans of the Alliance, as well as some low-status vassals. These people basically didn't witness the battle between Lin Feng and the 8 major clans of the Alliance, so none of them recognized Lin Feng. Those who recognized Lin Feng were probably drinking tea somewhere now. After they entered the city, the crowd was sparse. Most of the buildings were unoccupied. On the wide street there were no stalls, no hawkers, and it was rare to see anything like a horse carriage. There were a few inns, but they were cold and cheerless. It took a long time for people to enter. About half an hour later. Wait. A voice suddenly came from the side of Lin Feng and the other 3. Turning around, the one who spoke was a young man. The young man's skin was bronze, and his temperament was like a wild beast. He was wearing a sleeveless cloth shirt and a stone pendant around his neck. His hair was very short, about an inch shorter than Lin Feng's. There was a green sword mark between his eyebrows. He looked very ferocious, and his every move gave people a suffocating pressure. Lin Feng and the others could not help but let out a soft at the same time. A trace of surprise appeared on their faces. Elementary Supreme Martial Artist. Lord Black Rice looked at Lin Feng and asked, Lin Feng, are all the young people in your wind punishment plain geniuses? Lin Feng was 21 years old, Elementary Supreme Martial Artist. Lin Yun was 17 years old, Intermediate Supreme Martial Artist. Now, they actually saw another young Elementary Supreme Martial Artist. Although he was slightly older than Lin Feng and Lin Yun, he was only 25 years old. A 25 years old Elementary Supreme Martial Artist, no matter where he was, would be a top genius. I didn't see this guy the last time I came here. Could it be that something happened to the 8 great clans during this period? Lin Feng frowned. P.S. Third update. Begging for monthly votes. Rolling around and acting cute to beg for monthly votes. A good activity where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones waiting for you. Follow click on the Chinese website's official account, WeChat friend, add official account, type KDRED, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow KDRED's official account on WeChat right now. Chapter 309. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to more of your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type KDRED, and tell me secretly. The young man walked over slowly. Every step he took was heavy like a mountain. He stopped in front of Lin Feng and the rest and asked, "Which family are you from?" Lin Feng was stunned. He thought that the young man had seen through their identities and was ready to fight. He did not expect the young man to play such a trick. However, Lin Feng smiled and said, "The Lin family." As for whether or not the Lin clan was part of the alliance with the 8 great clans, this was not within Lin Feng's consideration. The Lin family? The young man scratched his head and was even more confused. The Lin family doesn't seem to be part of the 8 great families, right? Before Lin Feng could say anything, the young man suddenly realized something and said, "The Lin family must be a vassal family of one of the families." Vassal family? Lin Feng and the rest had a weird smile. Lord Black Rice could not help but think, there are countless powerful families in the countless plains, but which family is qualified to take the Lin family as a vassal family? The Lin family had Lin Hai, a super powerful person who could turn countless Earth Saints, and even those at the peak of the Earth Saint stage, into ashes with a flick of his finger. The young man was very sure of his guess. He reminded them, "I suggest that you wear the coat of arms when you go in and out." He pointed at the inconspicuous coat of arms in front of his chest. "Here, wear the coat of arms so that it's easier to distinguish your identity. Although there's no one guarding the city now, there are still pickets in the city. If the pickets find out that you don't wear the coat of arms, it'll be a little troublesome." Different from what Lin Feng and the rest had imagined, the young man was obviously a warm-hearted person. His words were simple and honest. "Oh," Lin Feng replied. "Thank you." He did not take the initiative to point it out. Let it be a misunderstanding. "May I know how to get to the Xing family?" Lin Feng asked. The young man was stunned. "You don't even know where the Xing family is? Is this your first time here?" Lin Feng shook his head. "This is the second time. The first time, he had almost wiped out the 8 great clans, but in the end, he was imprisoned in the Despair Prison. Of course, this was the second time." "Oh, no wonder." The young man was suddenly enlightened. "It seems that you must be a vassal family that has just joined the 8 great families. No wonder you don't know about the need to wear a coat of arms." He pointed at the crossroads in front of them and said, "Follow this path until you reach the crossroads. Then, turn left and continue walking straight until you pass 2 crossroads. When you reach the 3rd crossroad, turn right again and walk straight for about 2,000 meters. The Xing family's castle is there." After that, he asked curiously, "Why are you going to the Xing clan?" After a pause, he explained, "I don't have any other intentions. I'm just curious. If it's inconvenient, you don't have to say it." Lin Feng smiled. "We have something to discuss with the head of the Xing family." The young man said, "The head of the Xing family lives in seclusion. It's not easy to meet him. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to meet him?" "I'm not afraid. He will definitely come out to meet us." Lin Feng smiled confidently. If the head of the Xing family knew that he, the enemy who had almost wiped out the 8 great clans, was here, he would probably rush to gather his men and wait for him solemnly. "You're an interesting person." The young man smiled. "Let's be friends. I'm Huang Wenbing." "Lin Feng. You might not have heard of me." Lin Feng clasped his fists and smiled faintly. "Huang Wenbing. Could it be that you're from the Huang family?" Huang Wenbing smiled freely. "Let's be friends. Our identities aren't important. Moreover, I'm just a small fry in the Huang family. My status might be much lower than yours." How low could the status of an elementary supreme martial artist be? Moreover, he was a 25-year-old elementary supreme martial artist. Haha, maybe. Lin Feng didn't point it out. Huang Wenbing's character was really to his liking. At such a young age, he had broken through to elementary supreme martial artist. However, he was neither arrogant nor rash. He maintained a pure heart. It was too rare. "Alright, we're in a hurry to meet the head of the Xing family. We won't stay any longer. Let's meet again in the future." Huang Wenbing waved his hand. "We're all in the same city. We'll see each other often. We can meet anytime. Since you have something to do, hurry up and do it." "Alright, goodbye." "Goodbye." Lin Feng and the rest followed the path that Huang Wenbing pointed out to the Xing family's castle. After a long time, Huang Wenbing retracted his gaze. He smiled and shook his head. This guy is really interesting. Lin Feng, who had walked far away, could not help but sigh. This fellow is really interesting. It was unknown if they had a telepathic connection. Lord Black Rice praised him. This guy has endless potential. Huang Wenbing was really good to receive such praise from Lord Black Rice. Following the path that Huang Wenbing pointed out, Lin Feng and the rest took about half an hour to reach their destination. An ancient and magnificent castle came into their sight. The edge of the castle stretched for more than 10 kilometers, like a spiraling dragon. The buildings in the castle were sparse, but each building carried the weight of history, the vicissitudes of life, and had a unique charm. This was the accumulation of time, the accumulation of history. Stop right there. 4 guards at the castle's entrance blocked Lin Feng and the rest's way. The 4 guards each had the strength of a rank 7 martial artist. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Please inform the head of the Xing family that Lin Feng, the dean of Qinfeng College, is here to visit him. I have something to discuss with him. The guards saw that Lin Feng and the rest had an extraordinary aura and were extremely confident. Since they asked to see the head of the Xing family, they thought that they must have an extraordinary status. Therefore, they didn't make things difficult for Lin Feng and the rest. No matter what, it was best to inform the head of the family so that they wouldn't offend someone they shouldn't offend. Therefore, one of them said, "Please wait for a moment." Xing Gang was reading ancient books in his study when he suddenly heard a knock on the door. He came back to his senses and said, "Come in. Head of the family, there's someone outside who claims to be the dean of Qinfeng College, Lin Feng, asking to see you." Xing Gang, who was originally indifferent, stood up when he heard the name Lin Feng. He cried out, "Impossible!" The guard was shocked. It was the first time he saw the head of the family lose his composure. He was extremely shocked. Together with the 8 great families, no one dared to provoke them. As the head of the 8 great families, the Xing family had a rich foundation and a long history. As the head of the Xing family, Xing Gang could be said to be in existence with monstrous power. He was an existence that could shake the entire Azure Wood continent with a stomp of his feet. Who could make Xing Gang lose his composure like this? The guard could not guess. He did not dare to guess. He buried his head and pretended that he did not see anything. However, his fingers were trembling slightly. This meant that he was not calm. Lin Feng has clearly been locked up in the despair prison by the ancestor. How could he appear here? Xing Gang paced back and forth in the study. He was very upset. Could it be that someone is impersonating Lin Feng? However, impersonating Lin Feng was equivalent to making an enemy out of the 8 great families. He could not think of anyone who would have the courage to impersonate Lin Feng. It shouldn't be an impersonation. At this moment, he was in a mess. After thinking for a long time, he took a deep breath and said, "Go to Dragon Armor Valley right away and tell the people there exactly what you told me. Tell them to inform the Grand Ancestor immediately. Take this token first. When the time comes, show it to them and they will believe you." After saying this, Xing Gang did not wait for the guard to speak. He hurriedly sent a message to the 2 elders and walked toward the entrance of the castle. Even with the 2 elders following him, Xing Gang did not have any confidence. He was very solemn. He prayed in his heart, "Ancestor, you must come quickly." Upon receiving Xing Gang's order, the guard did not dare to hesitate. He immediately walked toward Dragon Armor Valley, which was located in the middle of 2 hills in the castle. After a while, the guard arrived at the place. Dragon Armor Valley was heavily guarded at all times. There were not many people, but every one of them was an elite. The weakest was a level 8 powerhouse, and there were more than 20 level 9 powerhouses. All the supreme martial artists were here. It was the most secluded place in the castle. The powerhouses of the Xing family spent most of their time cultivating here. Usually, no one would disturb them. The guard's arrival broke the silence. Who are you? Tell me your name. Chen Yi, the 32nd great-grandson of the Chen family, a vassal family of the Xing family. I am the guard of the Xing family castle. Why are you here? I am here on the orders of the master to deliver a message. Speak. The guard took a deep breath and said, There is someone outside who claims to be the dean of Qinfeng College, Lin Feng, who wishes to see you. As soon as he finished speaking, the guard clearly felt a terrifying aura suddenly erupting. Dragon Armor Valley was instantly thrown into chaos, and everyone fell into a state of panic. Lin Feng? How is that possible? Wasn't he imprisoned in the Despair Prison with Xiaoyao supremacy and the rest? The ancestor once said that the Despair Prison can only be entered and not exited, unless one passes through an 18-level tower. However, the 18 levels of the tower are each more difficult than the last. Over the countless years, only one person has passed through the tower. Even the legendary Complete Earth Saint was trapped in there for hundreds of thousands of years. How is it possible that Lin Feng has such ability? What should we do? If it is really Lin Feng, then our Xing family, no, the entire 8 great families are in danger. After a long while, Dragon Armor Valley finally calmed down. A deep voice sounded, Do you have a token? The guard quickly raised the token in his hand and said anxiously, Yes, yes. Throw it in. Thus, the guard did as he was told and threw the token into Dragon Armor Valley. After that, Dragon Armor Valley became silent. However, the guard could faintly feel the pressure of a storm, and his breathing could not help but become heavier. Who is this Lin Feng? He had never been so curious before. After a long while, a group of figures flew out of Dragon Armor Valley. The guard took a glance and was immediately frightened. He knelt on the ground and said, Greetings, elder ancestor. He was fortunate enough to meet the elder ancestor of the Xing family, Xing Ran, half a year ago. He had a deep impression of this person who stood at the top of the pyramid of the 8 great families. Thus, he recognized Xing Ran immediately. Xing Ran's expression was extremely serious. He nodded slightly and said to the people behind him, Let's go, quick! In the next moment, the few of them suddenly turned into afterimages. After a few whooshing sounds, they had already disappeared in midair. The guard stood up shakily. His mind was blank. Something big has happened. P.S. 4th update is available. Begging for monthly votes. Begging for guaranteed monthly votes. Begging for a sugar daddy. Weapon Refinery Group. 204276549. This is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. There will be prizes for everyone. Follow Kdred's official account on WeChat now. Chapter 310. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to more of your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type Kdred, and tell me secretly. The arrival of Lin Feng and the rest broke the peace in the Xing family. None of those who knew about Lin Feng's identity could remain calm. He was the man who had brought 36 supreme martial artists to the allied mountain range and almost annihilated the 8 great families. However, most of the 8 great families did not know about Lin Feng's existence. Only those who were above level 8 and were core members of the 8 great families had the right to know about this. At the Xing castle's main gate. They're here. Lin Feng put away his casual expression and looked serious. Xing Gang and the other 2 saw Lin Feng and Lord Blackrice, Poison Eye, and Killer from afar. Their hearts skipped a beat. They were extremely shocked. It's really Lin Feng. They would never forget that young and familiar face for the rest of their lives. It was as if they had returned to 2 months ago. Their dusty memories became clear. The battle 2 months ago could be said to be the humiliation of the 8 great families. It was an unforgettable wound in their hearts. The one who had caused all of this was the young man in front of them. He was only 21 years old. Luckily, the elder ancestor had forbidden anyone from the 8 great families to take revenge on Lin Feng's family. Otherwise, Xinggang felt a chill in his heart. At the same time, he felt extremely fortunate. Xinggang took a deep breath and walked up to Lin Feng. With a complicated expression, he said, "Lin Feng, I didn't expect you to be able to escape from that place." Although he was wary of Lin Feng, he knew that if Lin Feng really wanted to deal with him, he would not be able to escape even if he wanted to. He might as well face him head-on. Lin Feng smiled. "I didn't expect it either. Tell me, what are you here for?" Xinggang asked in a low voice. Lin Feng heard this and smiled. "I'm sure you know my purpose better than anyone else, right?" Xinggang's heart sank. He said solemnly, "So you're saying that you're determined to become enemies with me and the 8 great clans?" "You're mistaken. I'm not the one who wants to become enemies with the 8 great clans. It's the 8 great clans who want to become enemies with me." Lin Feng corrected Xinggang's mistake. "First, the Shui family killed the headmaster, injured my brother, and killed many students of the Qinfeng Academy. Do you think it is possible for me to reconcile with the Shui family? Secondly, the senior from the Xing clan imprisoned us in the Despair Prison, which is no different from killing us. If it wasn't for my skill in refining weapons and my luck, we would have died in the Despair Prison." Xinggang's expression darkened as he scoffed. "Firstly, the ancestor has ordered that we are not to take revenge on anyone related to you. The Shui family has already let go of their grudges with you, and they have never tried to take revenge. Why would they not rest until one of them was dead? Secondly, it was you who led your forces to attack the Union Mountain Range and forced the 8 great clans of the Union Mountain Range into a hopeless situation, almost causing the 8 great clans of the Union Mountain Range to be wiped off the face of the continent. If it wasn't for that, the ancestor wouldn't have made such a decision and imprisoned all of you in the prison of despair. Speaking of which, you only have yourself to blame." "Ah." Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh, his face full of mockery. "You still have the face to say that you didn't take revenge. I would like to ask, if it weren't for the news of me, Carefree Sovereign, and the others being imprisoned in the Despair Prison, would the sovereigns of the Eternal Continent, the Crafting Sect, the Church of Liberty, and the Church of Darkness have the courage to attack the Greenwood Continent?" He took a step forward and questioned, "Isn't borrowing a knife to kill someone considered revenge?" Xinggang was annoyed. "Lin Feng, don't slander us. How could the 8 great clans of the Union Mountain Range do such a thing? Haha, the Shui family is even willing to kill those innocent children. Is there anything they won't do? As for the other 7 great clans, they didn't care about right or wrong and wholeheartedly protected the Shui family, not allowing others to take revenge. How are they different from the Shui family?" Lin Feng sneered. "Moreover, in the battle 2 months ago, other than us, only the 8 great clans of the Union Mountain Range knew that we were imprisoned in the Despair Prison. Other than you, who else could have leaked the news? Do you think it was us who leaked the news?" These words instantly left Xinggang speechless, unable to refute. Xinggang's face alternated between green and white as he gnashed his teeth in anger. At this moment, a few figures flew over, appearing beside Xinggang in a breath's time. "Old Ancestor." Xinggang and the 2 elders bowed together. The person who came was the old ancestor of the Xing family, Xing Ran, the one who imprisoned Lin Feng, Carefree Sovereign, and the others in the Despair Prison. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Although Lin Feng didn't plan to deal with the Xing family, it didn't mean that he didn't resent Xing Ran. Towards this old man who had almost killed all of them, he had a lot of resentment in his heart. However, due to the soul oath, he had no choice but to give up on dealing with the Xing family. Otherwise, he would have rushed over and fought Xing Ran to the death. Xing Ran's expression was a little sickly pale, but his tone was still full of energy. He smiled. Lin Feng, we meet again. However, his attention was more focused on Lord Black Rice, Poison Eye and Killer, who were behind Lin Feng. This was because he couldn't see through the strength of these three people. Lin Feng took a deep look at Xing Ran and said, "Yeah, we meet again. This old man also heard what you said just now. I can't deny that the person who leaked the news this time is most likely someone from the Union Mountain Range." Xing Ran said frankly, "This is my fault. I can promise you that I will find the person who leaked the news in the shortest time possible and hand him over to you personally for you to punish. Also, the Union Mountain Range is willing to compensate you for your loss. All the grudges between us will be written off. How about that? This is your decision?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. "Senior, I really don't feel your sincerity." Xing Ran's tone was low. "Lin Feng, don't go overboard. You must know that if I can lock you up once, I can lock you up twice." Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. "Are you threatening me?" Xing Ran looked at Lin Feng. "You can take it that way if you want. Senior, you've calculated everything, but you've missed one thing." Lin Feng looked at Xing Ran calmly. "Since I've already fallen into your hands once, I won't fall into your hands a second time. If I didn't have enough confidence, I wouldn't have come to the Union Mountain Range." Xing Ran's expression didn't change. "Where does your confidence come from? Is it the three of them?" He looked at Lord Black Rice, Poison Eye and Killer, who were standing behind Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't answer, but suddenly laughed. "I bet that later, you and everyone in the Xing family will change their minds. Do you believe me?" Xing Ran misunderstood Lin Feng's meaning, and laughed angrily. "Ha ha ha. Lin Feng, you've underestimated the Xing family. The Xing family has existed since the Primordial Age. During the Primordial Age, the Xing family was established as the #1 family in the mainland. For generations, the Xing family had produced countless heroes. Every single one of them was a peerless hero who could support both heaven and earth. There are no cowards among the descendants of the Xing family. Do you think that by threatening us, you can force us to submit? Let me tell you, the glory of the Xing family is undeniable. Even if the Xing family has to fight to the last man, we will not compromise with anyone. If you don't believe me, you can ask around. No compromise. No compromise. No compromise." In an instant, everyone in the Xing family shouted proudly, and there was no fear in their eyes. For countless years, the glory of being the #1 family in the Xing Feng realm had been ingrained in every Xing family member's bones. Since they were born, they had been instilled with the idea that the Xing family was the #1 family. Naturally, a strong sense of belonging and cohesion was formed. This was something that no other family could compare to. Even if the Xing family members were all killed or injured, they would not yield or compromise. The mission of protecting the glory of the Xing family was already rooted in their souls. Lin Feng praised them in his heart. The Xing family was indeed different from other families. The biggest difference between them was their cohesion. The cohesion of the Xing family was too scary. Even so, Lin Feng didn't hesitate to do what he had to do. "Let's not speak too soon. Take a look at this thing first." As he spoke, he tossed a small black shadow out of his hand and flew towards Xing Ran. "Nothing can be changed," Xing Ran said calmly as he caught the thing that Lin Feng threw at him. Before he could finish his sentence, he looked down and stopped abruptly. His eyes widened as he exclaimed, "A top-grade axe ring! This is the Elder Ancestor's ring." When Xing Gang and the other elders heard Xing Ran's exclamation, their eyes widened. Their gazes were fixed on the small ring in Xing Ran's palm. Their hearts were filled with shock and disbelief. How could this be? How could the Elder Ancestor's ring be in Lin Feng's hands? Their minds went blank, and they lost their ability to think. The elder ancestor Xing ran, the family head Xing Gang, the elders, deacons, and the guards at the gate were all shocked. The surroundings fell into a dead silence. The elder ancestor's ring. Why is the elder ancestor's ring in Linfeng's hands? What's the relationship between Linfeng and the elder ancestor? Has he met the elder ancestor before? It's been more than 10,000 years. We haven't heard any news about the elder ancestor for more than 10,000 years. They slowly came back to their senses. The way they looked at Linfeng had changed. In their eyes, Linfeng had become more and more mysterious. At this moment, everyone was extremely excited. Their eyes were filled with anticipation, but they were also very nervous. This was because they were afraid of receiving a disappointing answer. After a long time, Xing Ran shifted his gaze to Linfeng. He stared at Linfeng and said, "Tell me, who gave you this ring?" His voice was very hoarse and trembling, indicating that he was not calm in his heart. When everyone heard this, they immediately shut their mouths and held their breath. They did not make a single sound and looked at Linfeng anxiously. Linfeng said, "This was given to me by a senior named Xing He." Xing He. This name silenced everyone again. P.S. Begging for vote. Labor Day begging for vote. Rolling and acting cute begging for votes. This is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the official account of the Chinese website, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow the official account of Kdred now. Chapter 311. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and tell me secretly. The name Xing He was no stranger to the Xing family. Starting from Xing Feng and going down from generation to generation, Xing He was the 13th generation. In the 13th generation of the Xing clan, Xing He was the first. In the ancient books of the Xing family, there was a book that described Xing He's achievements in detail. He broke through the rank 9 barrier at the age of 67 and became a beginner supremacy. He broke through again at the age of 106 and improved even further. He became a high-level supremacy at the age of 207 and reached the limit of supremacy at the age of 536. At the age of 1208, he broke through supremacy and became a saint. Since then, he was invincible. Among the ancestors of the Xing family, Xing He's talent was second only to Xing Feng and the 3 generations after him. Moreover, when the Xing family started to decline, Xing He suddenly rose up and swept through the universe, killing countless enemies and establishing the Xing family's prestige. The Xing family dared to be called the number 1 family in the Xing Feng plane because of Xing He's contribution. If Xing Feng laid the foundation for the Xing family's rise, then Xing He was the person who brought the Xing family to greater heights. How could the Xing family forget such a person? Xing Ran's eyes were blazing. He said excitedly, "You've seen the Xing family's ancestor, Xing He?" "Yes." "Where is he?" Xing Ran's voice trembled. He couldn't wait to know the answer. The other members of the Xing family also looked at Lin Feng with anticipation and even a trace of pleading. Lin Feng said, "The Despair Prison." "The Despair Prison?" Xing Ran exclaimed. "Impossible. The Despair Prison is... Anyway, it's impossible. The Xing family's ancestor can't be locked in the Despair Prison." He looked at Lin Feng with dissatisfaction and said, "Lin Feng, you can insult us, but you can't insult the Xing family's ancestors." Xing Gang was also angry because he felt that Lin Feng had insulted the Xing family's ancestors. Perhaps others didn't know what the Despair Prison was, but as the family head, he knew very well. The Despair Prison was actually a place to imprison criminals from various planes. Lin Feng's words were the same as telling them that Xing He was a criminal. When did I say that Senior Xing He was imprisoned in the despair prison? Lin Feng glanced at Xing Ran and said calmly, Elder Xing He is actually the enforcer of a strange tower in the despair prison. He is the guardian of the tower. This ring was actually given to me by Senior Xing He after I passed through the tower. He once said that as long as you see this ring, you won't stop me from taking revenge. Mr. Black Rice, Poison Eye, and Killer were shocked. The senior we saw in the tower is the ancestor of these people? Plain Xingfeng was becoming more and more unfathomable. Xingfeng Lin Hai, the senior who was suspected to be a high-level Earth Holy in the Tower of Despair prison, and the mysterious expert who appeared a few days ago. Lord Black Rice and the others suddenly realized that Xingfeng Plain had produced so many terrifying experts. It was too frightening. Xing Ran was stunned for a moment before she calmed down and asked, Is the ancestor doing well? Lin Feng blinked. Senior Xing He is doing well, but he isn't very satisfied with your performance. Anyway, no one knew about his conversation with Xing He, so he could say whatever he wanted. He was still very good at using the tiger's skin as a banner. Everyone from the Xing family was stunned for a moment before their expressions darkened. Their faces were filled with shame. Seeing how ashamed the Xing family was, Lin Feng decided to stop while he was ahead. He didn't attack them anymore and changed the topic. Senior Xing He and I have an agreement. After I leave Despair Prison, I won't take revenge on the Xing family. However, the Xing family can't stop me from dealing with the other 7 families. Senior, I will ask you one last time. Do you still want to stop me? Since this ring is in your hand, you are a friend of the Xing family. Xing Ran didn't hesitate. Don't worry. Not only will the Xing family not stop you, but we will also help you solve all your problems. Xing Gang and the other elders all agreed with Xing Ran's words and didn't have any objections. After a pause, Xing Ran said, Wait for a moment. I will order people to bring the other families here for you to do whatever you want with them. Since the ancestor had given the ring to Lin Feng, it meant that the ancestor approved of Lin Feng. Therefore, the descendants naturally had to do their best to help him. He knew what to do and didn't hesitate. Then I will have to trouble you, Senior, Lin Feng said with a smile. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. After a while, Xing Ran sent out 7 elders to each of the 7 families to invite the core members of the 7 families over. In addition, he also sent people to seal all the exits of Lianzong City, forbidding anyone from entering or leaving to prevent anyone from fishing in troubled waters and escaping. After the 7 of them set off, Xing Ran hesitated for a moment before saying, Lin Feng, although it is indeed wrong to join forces with the 8 great clans in this matter, the root cause is the Shui clan. I hope that for my sake you can spare the other 6 families. Of course, this is only my personal request. If you insist on going against the 7 families, the Xing family will also do our best to help you. Lin Feng said, I am not a bloodthirsty maniac. My target has always been the Shui family. Xing Ran was delighted to hear that. However, Lin Feng's tone changed immediately. However, they have protected the Shui family after all. They have to pay a price for it, right? Yes. Xing Ran was silent for a moment before he sighed and nodded. Lin Feng had a troubled expression. After a long time, he made up his mind and said, How about this? On account of Senior, as long as they are willing to apologize and pay a precious apology gift, I can promise to let bygones be bygones. Xing Ran's eyes lit up instantly. He said gratefully, Thank you. This time, Lin Feng had profited. He could get 6 apology gifts and Xing Ran's gratitude. He had profited greatly. The new head of the Shui family was Shui Dingjun. He was the cousin of the previous head of the family, Shui Dingran, and had a rank 9 cultivation. However, compared to Shui Dingran, Shui Dingjun was much weaker in all aspects. He could even be described as an idiot. If not for the strong support of the two Shui family elders, he would not have been the head of the Shui family. These days, he had been sitting on the head of the Shui family for a long time. He had been giving orders to his subordinate. He was omnipotent and majestic. He was addicted to it. The more it was like this, the more he indulged in it. He wished that time would stop at this moment. When he heard that an elder of the Xing family had come to visit, Shui Dingjun immediately went to welcome him personally. In the hall of the Shui family, Senior Xing Ran is looking for us to discuss something important? And all the core members of the Shui family must be present? Not one of them can be missing? Shui Dingjun was puzzled. He guessed that Xing Ran must have something important to announce. Hence, he nodded at the Xing family's elder and said, "All right, please wait for a moment. I'll inform the elders and the two patriarchs right away." Soon, he gathered all the core members of the Shui family and followed the elder of the Shui family to the Xing family. The Huang family. "Uncle, why did you summon us in such a hurry?" A tall young man frowned and asked. This was the 25-year-old beginner supreme martial artist that Lin Feng and the rest had met once before. Huang Wenbing, the head of the Huang family, Huang Yong, said solemnly, "This is Senior Xing Ran's idea. Okay, don't ask too much for now. When we reach the Xing family, Senior Xing will tell us." Huang Wenbing nodded. Okay. However, a trace of doubt flashed through his brows. Huang Wenbing suddenly thought of Lin Feng and the rest, whom he had met in the city 2 hours ago. Could it be related to Lin Feng? At the same time, the Lu family, the Fan family, the Liang family, the Qin family, and the Dong family were also on the move. The core members of each family were summoned back to their families and followed the elder of the Xing family to the Xing family. However, no one knew that their leader, the Xing family, had betrayed them and stood on Lin Feng's side. After about an hour, the Shui family, the Huang family, the Qin family, the Lu family, the Fan family, the Liang family, and the Dong family all arrived at the Xing family. Hundreds of people gathered together and chatted as they waited. "Brother Shui, do you know why Senior Xing suddenly summoned us?" "How would I know? You should ask the head of the Huang family. He is close to the head of the Xing family. Maybe he knows something that we don't." "Don't ask me. I don't know anything." Soon, Xing Ran walked over slowly from afar, with a few supreme martial artists following behind him. When Xing Ran stopped in front of everyone, everyone bowed and said, "Greetings, Senior Xing." Xing Ran looked at everyone expressionlessly. He did not say a word, and his expression was cold. His appearance immediately startled everyone. An invisible pressure slowly crept into their hearts. After a long time, Xing Ran said slowly, "I want to know who leaked the news that Lin Feng, Senior Xiaoyao, and the others were imprisoned in the Despair Prison." The atmosphere suddenly relaxed, and everyone gasped for breath. However, their hearts were filled with dissatisfaction. "Gathering us here in a hurry and scaring us like this, is it just for such a small matter?" That's right, Lin Feng had already been locked up in the Despair Prison. What was the point of mentioning him? This news was not a big deal, and it was not a big deal if it was leaked. Could Lin Feng come out of the Despair Prison and find trouble with them? Let me ask you again. Who leaked this news? Xing Ran's tone was still calm. Shui Dingjun thought for a while, and took the initiative to stand out. "It was me." The two supreme martial artists beside him wanted to hold him back, but they were too late. "This idiot!" One of the supreme martial artists could not help but curse. Although I don't know why Senior Xing suddenly mentioned this, from his tone, it is obviously not something good. Why did this idiot admit it so stupidly? He was very regretful. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have supported him. Doing this is simply harming him. However, since Shui Dingjun had already admitted it, he could not change it. He could only pray in his heart, "I hope Senior Xing will not make things too difficult for him." Xing Ran stared at Shui Dingjun, and a smile appeared on his face. It was really you? Seeing this, Xue Dingjun was even more sure that his choice was correct. Being honest was a wise choice. Therefore, he nodded decisively without hesitation. It was indeed me. Little did he know that the two supreme martial artists of the Xue family were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. Pig brain. P.S. Looking at the time, I am so scared that I am sweating. How come it is already 3 o'clock? Hurry up and go to sleep. I have to wake up early in the morning to do things like buying groceries, killing chickens, cutting fish, washing dishes, moving stools, and so on. Also, thank you brothers and sisters for your blessings. My grandma will definitely live a long life, haha. Weapon, this is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool mobile phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, add friends on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow Kdred's official account on WeChat right now. Chapter 312. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to more of your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type Kdred, and tell me secretly. Xing Ran was annoyed. This Xue Dingjun still didn't know how to repent. Xing Ran's tone was cold. 2 months ago, this old man said that the alliance with the 8 great families is not to retaliate in any way. Did you turn a deaf ear to my words? The Xue family had implicated the other 7 great families time and time again. This had crossed Xing Ran's bottom line. Xue Dingjun frowned and argued. This junior admits that I didn't follow senior's orders completely. However, Lin Feng, Carefree Sovereign, and the rest have already been locked up in the Despair prison. I'm afraid that all of them are dead by now. There's no need to worry about their revenge. Moreover, this junior heard that Lin Feng has a younger brother named Lin Yun. This Lin Yun's talent isn't any weaker than Lin Feng's. If this kid grows up in the future, he'll probably become another Lin Feng. He'll definitely be a threat to the 8 great families. Therefore, this junior killed their relatives and friends to completely eliminate this threat. He stared at Xing Ran. The more he spoke, the more reasonable he became. This junior did this for the sake of the 8 great families. This junior doesn't think that he did anything wrong. Moreover, this junior only sent someone to leak the news. Our Xue family didn't directly participate in it. Even if we did make a mistake, it shouldn't be that big of a mistake, right? This little bastard. The Xue family's pride was anxious. Even we don't dare to talk back to Senior Xing. How dare he? Who was Xing Ran? He was the number 1 person in the 8 great families alliance. Talking back to Xing Ran was tantamount to challenging the Xing family's authority. Although the Xue family was one of the 8 great families alliance, it was all because of the Xing family's support. If they offended the Xing family, the Xue family would instantly fall from their pedestal. After a few hundred years, no one would remember the Xue family anymore. However, they were more worried about Xue Dingjun's safety than the Xue families. As one of the 8 great clans, the Xing clan naturally wouldn't touch the Xue clan. However, Xue Dingjun would have to suffer a little. Forget it, let's just teach him a lesson. Otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble he will stir up in the future. The 2 supreme martial artists thought. However, was this matter really going to end so easily? They had imagined the future to be too beautiful. The cruel reality would soon shatter their beautiful fantasies. Pa, 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 suddenly, the sound of clapping came from midair. 4 figures slowly descended. The one who clapped was a short-haired young man, and behind him stood 3 strange-looking men. The young man looked at Xue Dingjun and said with a smile, "Thank you, Patriarch Xue, for clearing my doubts." Everyone looked over when they heard the voice. However, when they turned their heads, it was as if they had been struck by the body-freezing curse. Their eyeballs were frozen. Their eyeballs reflected the figures of the four people, especially the figure of the young man. In their eyes, it was infinitely magnified, occupying their entire eyeballs. Other than the figure of the young man, there was nothing else in their eyes. It was as if they had seen a ghost, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Feng, how is this possible? Why is he here? Wasn't he imprisoned in the despair prison by Senior Xing? No, this can't be real. This is an illusion. Yes, this must be an illusion. At the same time, in their minds, the memories of the battle 2 months ago were unsealed again. They couldn't help but shiver, and their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at the young man. However, there were 2 people whose expressions were slightly different. One of them was a young man from the Huang family, a beginner supreme martial artist, Huang Wenbing. At this moment, Huang Wenbing's mouth was wide open, and he was extremely shocked. Where did this guy come from? Just by showing his face, he had made everyone from the 7 big families break out in cold sweat, and their hands and feet were trembling. How could this be done by an ordinary person? One must know that this was the patriarchs, elders, and supreme martial artists of the 8 big families. He had originally thought that Lin Feng was from a vassal family, but the scene in front of him shocked him greatly, and he was stunned on the spot. Could someone from a vassal family make the patriarchs, elders, and supreme martial artists tremble in fear? Could someone from a vassal family make the Xing family submit? Who exactly is he? Huang Wenbing took a deep breath, and his eyebrows were deeply furrowed. Suddenly, he remembered. When he met Lin Feng seemed to have mentioned his name. He had always remembered it, but he didn't connect that Lin Feng with the Lin Feng that Xue Dingjun and the others had mentioned. He is that Lin Feng, the Lin Feng who almost wiped out the 8 big families? Huang Wenbing took a deep breath and couldn't help but swear. F***ck, it's actually him. At this moment, Lin Feng's gaze moved over and landed on Huang Wenbing, and he even winked at Huang Wenbing. Huang Wenbing was instantly choked, and he couldn't say a word. He didn't know whether to cry or cry in his heart. This guy actually lied to me, saying that he was from a vassal family. If Lin Feng knew what he was thinking, he would definitely cry out, "I didn't say anything at that time, you are overthinking it." Other than Huang Wenbing, there was another person who had a strange expression. This person was a woman behind the Qin family's head, Qin Qiong. She also looked at Lin Feng in surprise, but there was no fear in her surprise. Instead, it was a mix of doubt, surprise, and worry. She was surprised and puzzled by Lin Feng's arrival, but at the same time, she was worried about Lin Feng's situation. The woman's figure was graceful, and her skin was smooth and tender. She didn't have any makeup, and her eyes were extremely charming. Her appearance couldn't be considered top-notch, but it was very pleasing to the eye. Coupled with her delicate and pretty long hair, she was a rare beauty. Who was she? What did she do with Lin Feng? Lin Feng felt the strange gaze, and quickly searched through the crowd, and finally fixed his gaze on this woman. It's her. Lin Feng immediately recognized this person, but there was a slight difference between this person and the person in his memory. However, there weren't many changes, and her eyes were more charming. Interesting, really interesting. Qin Wulei, Vice Dean Qin, I didn't expect that our second meeting would be under such circumstances. Of course, he only said this in his heart and didn't say it out loud. Qin Wulei felt Lin Feng's gaze, and couldn't help but lower her head. He recognized me. She pinched the corner of her clothes, not daring to look at Lin Feng. It was unknown whether it was because of the shyness of a girl, or because of the shame of stealing a saint's soul, or both. In the next moment, a voice broke the silence. Xue Dingjun said sternly, "Lin Feng, you actually dare to come to the Lianzong city. Aren't you afraid that Senior Xing will throw you into the despair prison again?" Hearing this, Xing Ran frowned and glanced at Xue Dingjun fiercely. Then, he looked at Lin Feng apologetically. Lin Feng is now the most distinguished guest of the Xing family, and a friend of the Xing family," Xing Ran said in a low voice. This sentence directly expressed the attitude of the entire Xing family. Xue Dingjun almost choked to death. He looked at Xing Ran in shock and said, "Senior Xing, are you joking?" The people of the 7 big families all looked at Xing Ran in shock and despair. If even the first of the 8 big families, the Xing family, turned around and stood on Lin Feng's side, then the 7 big families would be completely finished. Lin Feng alone was enough to make them unable to resist. If the Xing family joined in, then they would have no hope of survival. Xue Dingjun asked the question in everyone's heart. Xing Ran should be joking, right? However, Xing Ran said indifferently, "I would never joke about the Xing family's glory." Xing Ran's sentence instantly shattered the last bit of hope in everyone's hearts, causing them to fall into despair. It's over. The Xing family and Lin Feng have joined forces. The 7 big families are completely finished. The calamity came too suddenly. They were not prepared at all and were caught off guard. Of course, even if they were given a year or even 10 years to prepare, they were no match for Lin Feng and the Xing family. The supreme martial artist of the Xue family shouted, "No! You can't do this! For thousands of years, we have never disobeyed the wishes of the Xing family. Now, just because we made a mistake with Lin Feng, you are abandoning us. I can't accept this, I can't accept this." If the 7 big families are destroyed, where will the Xing family find another family with more than 5,000 years of history? Don't forget that the well of the punishment axe can only be opened by activating the blood of the 8 big families. Without us, the Xing family will need at least 5,000 years to open the well of the punishment axe again. The people of the Xue family went completely crazy. Whether it was the Xue family, the 2 supreme martial artists, or the group of elders, they were all afraid. This was because the hatred between them and Lin Feng had already formed an irreconcilable hatred. The other families might still have a bit of hope, but the Xue family was doomed. The members of the other 6 great clans also felt the same way. They felt like the fox mourning the death of the hare. The Xue clan definitely had no hope, but how much hope did their 6 great clans have? The pot calling the kettle black. Xue family, in order to deal with the Xue family, I almost lost my life. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Wasn't the reason why I trained so crazily so that I could take revenge with my own hands? He did not waste any more time. He took a step forward and turned into a shadow. Bam! 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 Lin Feng's figure flashed among the Xue family's camp like a star. The group of people did not even have time to speak before they screamed and fell to the ground. Lin Feng's overall battle strength had already surpassed supreme martial artist men Luo and the others. Not to mention the 2 early-stage supreme martial artists of the Xue family. Even if the 2 mid-stage supreme martial artists of the Xue family attacked together, Lin Feng was not afraid at all. With such a huge gap, the people of the Xue family were unable to retaliate against Lin Feng's sudden attack. Including the Xue family's supreme martial artists, everyone of the Xue family was killed by Lin Feng one by one. After 3 breaths of time, Lin Feng stopped. Around him, every one of the Xue family had fallen to the ground. Their chests, arms, legs, heads, and other body parts were covered in wounds. However, the most fatal one was the green mark on their neck. None of the 31 core members of the Xue family were spared. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open, shocked to the extreme. No one would have thought that Lin Feng himself actually had such terrifying strength. Apart from Xing Ran and LV Hongba, no one could defeat Lin Feng. Among them, Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei were the most shocked. However, Lin Feng's face did not have the slightest bit of joy after taking revenge. Instead, his expression was incomparably solemn. "OL President, do you see this?" He raised his head. In the sky, the layers of clouds seemed to outline a kind face. P.S. The Otaku VIP group has been established. Joining the group requires a full subscription to Refining Frenzy. VIP Group Number 168605329. Welcome, friends. Ordinary Refining Book Friends Group 204276549. This is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, WeChat friend, add official account, type KDRED, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow KDRED's official account now. Chapter 313. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the official account of the Chinese website, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type KDRED, and tell me secretly. So strong. Looking at Lin Feng, who was silently looking at the sky, Huang Wenbing's heart was filled with a strong desire to fight. As the first genius in the history of the Huang family, and the one who had obtained the fortuitous encounter of Xing Fu, Huang Wenbing was undoubtedly the strongest among the younger generation of the 8 great families. Even Xing Hao, the seed of the Xing family, was overshadowed by his brilliance. But it was only now that he realized that there was a genius more terrifying than him in the world. Every cell in his body was in a state of excitement. He looked at Lin Feng with blazing eyes. Although he had an uncontrollable urge to fight Lin Feng, he forcibly suppressed it. He knew that he was not a match for Lin Feng yet. Judging from the strength that Lin Feng had just shown, Lin Feng had the ability to kill him in a second. But he was not discouraged. Maybe he was not as good as Lin Feng now, but he believed that one day, he would be qualified to challenge Lin Feng. Lin Feng. This name was more and more deeply engraved in his heart. Qin Wulei, on the other hand, was completely dumbfounded. A few years ago, Lin Feng was still a junior lecturer in Qinfeng College, and he needed her help to spread the knowledge of magic. But now, Lin Feng had easily killed all the experts of the Shui family, including the 2 supreme masters of the Shui family and several 9th-stage experts. This was too unbelievable. Lin Feng suddenly became a stranger. Is he really the Lin Feng I know? Qin Wulei's eyes dimmed. One was a junior lecturer struggling in Qinfeng College, the other was a terrifying expert who wiped out the Shui family, one of the 8 great families. She could not find any connection between the two. Perhaps the only similarity was Lin Feng's unchanging appearance and name. After a long time, Lin Feng slowly recovered from his grief. He withdrew his gaze and turned his head to look at the members of the Dong clan, Lu clan, Qin clan, and the other 6 great clans. Seeing Lin Feng's gaze, the people of the 6 great families were shocked. They took a step back in unison and looked at Lin Feng warily and fearfully. As they breathed, beads of cold sweat appeared on their foreheads. Although Lin Feng only looked at them quietly and did not make a move, it gave them enormous pressure. Of the hundreds of people from the 6 great clans, including many supremes and 9th-stage powerhouses, not a single one dared to look Lin Feng in the eye. At this moment, Lin Feng really had the aura of a man holding back 10,000 men. He alone caused 6 of the renowned 8 great clans to be terrified to the point of taking a step back in unison and not daring to look him in the eye. How awe-inspiring was this! Are you afraid? Lin Feng looked at them. Lu Hongba's expression changed. He looked at Lord Blackrice, Poison Eye, and Killer in the distance and said in a threatening manner, "I'm not afraid." Lin Feng nodded and said affirmatively, "I understand. You're afraid." This time, it was not a questioning tone, but an affirmative one. You. Lu Hongba was furious, but he did not dare to provoke Lin Feng. He only snorted and did not say anything else. Since Lu Hongba had given in, the rest of the people did not dare to go against Lin Feng. Xing Ran looked at Lin Feng and could not help but worry. Could it be that Lin Feng has changed his mind? But what Lin Feng said next proved that Xing Ran was overthinking. Lin Feng looked at the people of the 6 great clans calmly and said, "You covered up for the Shui clan indiscriminately and almost caused Senior Xiao Yao and I to die in despair prison. Logically speaking, I should kill all of you." This sentence made everyone tremble in fear. Lin Feng then winked at Xing Ran and changed his tone. "However, Senior Xing pleaded for mercy on your behalf and used his reputation to guarantee that you will not provoke me in the future. And the Shui clan's mistake should be borne by the Shui clan themselves. At most, you've only committed the crime of covering up for the Shui clan. So, I promise not to kill you." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. This meant that they did not have to die. As long as they did not have to die, they were willing to agree to any conditions. At least, most of the people present were willing to pay any price for their lives. "What conditions do you have?" "Say it," Lu Hongba said calmly. They were not fools. Naturally, they knew that Lin Feng would not let them off so easily. Of course, they were still very grateful to Xing Ran. If not for Xing Ran's persuasion, they would have been dead souls under Lin Feng's fist. "Senior Xing, thank you for your hard work," they sighed in their hearts. Until now, they still thought that Xing Ran was coerced by Lin Feng to join Lin Feng's camp. However, under such circumstances, Xing Ran still pleaded for them. This debt of gratitude was too heavy. Feeling everyone's grateful gaze, Xing Ran's face turned red. Although he did plead for them, it was not what they had imagined. But he could not explain this. Did he have to slap his own face to be happy? But, to be able to receive the gratitude of the 6 great clans, Xing Ran was still very happy. He glanced at Lin Feng secretly and thanked Lin Feng in his heart. "Lin Feng, this time, the Xing clan owes you." Lin Feng looked at LV Hongba with admiration. "Senior, you're smart." However, LV Hongba did not appreciate Lin Feng's praise at all. He continued to look at him coldly. Lin Feng did not think much of it and continued to smile. "My conditions are very simple. You only need to fulfill 2 conditions. First, each of your clans must send 6 stage 8 powerhouses and 1 stage 9 powerhouse to the imperial city of the country of Zhao to be the teachers of Qinfeng College and teach the students of Qinfeng College." Hearing this, the heads of the 6 great clans frowned. 6 stage 8 powerhouses and 1 stage 9 powerhouse. To the 6 great clans, this was not a small force. However, this request was acceptable to them. It was not too difficult. "All right, I agree." LV Hongba agreed on behalf of the LV clan. The Huang clan, Qin clan, Dong clan, and the others all nodded in agreement. "Good." Lin Feng smiled. "You're indeed a member of the 8 great clans. How straightforward." LV Hongba said in a low voice, "You'd better tell us your second condition first." Lin Feng laughed. "The second condition is even simpler. That is, each of the 6 great clans must prepare an apology gift for me. I don't need too much. Just 3,000 portions of rare materials and 30 portions of treasured materials will do. If the materials are not enough, you can use essence stones that are worth the same as these materials to replace them. 3,000 portions of rare materials and 30 portions of treasured materials." Everyone glared at Lin Feng angrily, wishing they could skin Lin Feng alive. Because this was all they had accumulated for thousands of years. If it was just 3,000 portions of rare materials, they might still reluctantly agree. However, with the addition of 30 portions of treasured materials, this was definitely a huge loss. So many materials, especially 30 portions of treasured materials, to them, this was equivalent to asking for their lives. "Impossible." They were just about to speak. However, Lin Feng spoke first. "Oh right, I almost forgot. The Huang and Qin clans only need to prepare half of the materials I mentioned just now." As he spoke, Lin Feng even winked at Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei with a smile on his face, as if saying, "How is it? I've given enough face to the 2 of you." Therefore, the 2 clan heads of the Huang and Qin clans immediately shut their mouths and forcefully swallowed back the words they were about to say. However, a trace of doubt surfaced on their faces. Seeing Lin Feng looking at Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei, their gazes also fell on Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei thoughtfully. This time, the other four great clans couldn't accept it. Why did the Huang and Qin clans only need to pay half, while they had to pay all of it? I'm not convinced. LV Hongba opened his mouth and said, Huang. Lin Feng forcefully interrupted him and laughed loudly. You're not convinced? That's great. Not only was he not angry at all, but he appeared to be very happy. He turned to look at the other clans and asked, You're not convinced either? The clan heads were just about to nod their heads when they felt Lin Feng's increasingly cold gaze. Instantly, they shivered and the words that were about to come out of their mouths immediately changed into, We're convinced, we're convinced. Everything will be done according to your request. Only then did they remember that Lin Feng was not a kind person. In their opinion, Lin Feng should be very happy to kill them all in his heart. It was only because Xing Ran had pleaded for them that he didn't do it directly. Now that Lin Feng was worried about not having an excuse to do it, if they directly refused, it would be equivalent to giving Lin Feng a reason to do it. This was simply pushing themselves into the fire pit. Therefore, no matter how unreasonable Lin Feng's request was, they had to grit their teeth and agree. Lin Feng revealed a tinge of disappointment. Seeing this, everyone felt even more fortunate that they didn't open their mouths to refuse just now. At the same time, they cursed in their hearts, This kid is too cunning. We almost fell into their trap. I reckon he can't wait for us to refuse. In this way, he'll have another reason to kill us. But luckily we reacted in time. Thinking in this way, their heads couldn't help breaking out in cold sweat. Their backs were also full of sweat. Little did they know that Lin Feng was laughing so hard in his heart that he was about to cramp up. He had never thought of annihilating the 6 great clans. Of course, the prerequisite was that the 6 great clans didn't go and provoke him. So even if the 6 great clans just gave him some material symbolically, he wouldn't say much. Senior, what about you? Lin Feng looked at Lu Hongba again, looking forward to Lu Hongba's reply. As expected, although Lu Hongba's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, but under pressure, he finally gave in and said coldly, Don't worry, all the materials, my Lu family will prepare them for you. Lin Feng cupped his fists from afar and said, Then many thanks to Senior Lu for the generous gift. Humph. Lu Hongba snorted coldly and turned his head away, not saying anything more to Lin Feng. From his black face, it was obvious that he was very angry with Lin Feng and had a lot of resentment in his heart. But because of the situation, he had no choice but to give in. Different from Lu Hongba, Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei were in a good mood. Huang Wenbing secretly gave Lin Feng a thumbs up and moved his lips a few times. Looking at the shape of his mouth, he should be saying, Good friend. Qin Wulei, on the other hand, was looking at Lin Feng with a complicated expression. No one could understand his thoughts. P.S. It's going to explode again tomorrow. Looking for monthly votes. Otaku VIP Group 168605329. Full subscription friends, please come in. Normal Book Friends Group 204276549. What a good activity for a pie in the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, WeChat friend, add official account, type KDRED, and participate immediately. There's a prize for everyone. Follow KDRED's official account on WeChat right now. Chapter 314. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add an official account, type KDRED, and tell me secretly. Although the 6 families were unwilling to give up, they were intimidated by Lin Feng's power. In the end, they obediently prepared all the materials and handed them to Lin Feng. In addition, the 6 families each sent 6 level 8 and 1 level 9 powerhouse to the capital of Zhao country as quickly as possible to teach at Qinfeng College. As for the remaining forces of the Shui family, the Xing family and the other 6 families all took action and completely annihilated them. The 6 families hated the Shui family even more than they hated Lin Feng. If it were not for the Shui family, they would not have provoked Lin Feng. If they had not provoked Lin Feng, they would not have lost more than half of the materials they had accumulated over thousands of years. In the end, it was the Shui family who started the trouble, but in the end, they had to pay for it. Therefore, they did not show any mercy to the remaining forces of the Shui family. They also hoped to recover some of their losses from the Shui family and make up for the materials they had lost to Lin Feng. Since then, the Shui family had been completely annihilated. However, when they searched the entire Shui family, they could not find any materials. They could not help but look at each other. Why isn't there anything valuable? They were unwilling to give up and sent people to search again, but the results did not change at all. No matter how hard they tried, they could not find a single essence stone or material. Even some other valuable items were not found at all. It was as if the Shui family had hidden all the valuable things in advance in a place where no one could find them. As one of the 8 families in the alliance, even if the Shui family was ranked last and had the lowest overall strength, they should not be so poor, right? They would not believe that the Shui family was so poor. However, whether they believed it or not, the truth was that the Shui family did not have anything valuable. At least, they had not found anything yet. Faced with this cruel reality, the family heads could only reluctantly give up and call everyone back. Thus, this matter was left unsettled and became a strange and unsolvable case. Qinfeng College. Beside the lush forest and a small lake, there was an elegant courtyard. After Lin Feng returned, he chose this courtyard as a place to cultivate. After entering the house, Lin Feng tidied up the room a little and began to count the spoils of war. The threat of the Shui family had finally been dealt with. Not only that, he had also extorted many materials and essence stones from the 6 families. It could be said that this was an unexpected surprise. As for the Shui family, Lin Feng naturally didn't forget to pay them a visit. The items that had disappeared from the Shui family had been taken away by Lin Feng. However, this couldn't be blamed on him. If there was anything to be blamed, it could only be blamed on the 6 great families for being too slow. The harvest isn't bad. The 6 families have a total of 15,000 rare materials, 150 precious materials, 4,600 rare materials, and 45 precious materials from the Shui family. Lin Feng was very satisfied with this spoil of war. This could be seen from the faint smile in his eyes. A total of 19,600 rare materials and 495 precious materials. However, Lin Feng didn't forget that he had also obtained a large pile of materials in the Eternal Continent. 9,800 rare materials and 120 precious materials. This was Lin Feng's harvest in the Eternal Continent. In total, Lin Feng stored as many as 29,400 rare materials and 615 precious materials in the interspatial ring. Perhaps even an Earth sage would blush with shame at such an accumulation of materials. If Lin Feng was willing to spare no time and effort to refine 3-stripe spiritual armor, then he could refine more than 3,000 sets of 3-stripe spiritual armor. However, he didn't intend to do so for the time being. He wanted to store the materials first, so that when he needed them in the future, he would be able to bring them out. The people from the 6 great families should take another 5 or 6 days to arrive. Lin Feng pondered alone. Once they arrive, Qinfeng College should be on the right track. After the New Year's Eve, there should be a lot of good seedlings in the New Year's enrollment. However, I'll just have to leave the rest to Uncle Xie and the others. With that in mind, he calculated the time needed for his training. The advanced difficulty training should take twice as long as the intermediate difficulty training, maybe even more. 10 days should be enough, right? Let's leave it at that for now. After the advanced difficulty training, I'll walk around and study the application of the law of Earth in depth. Lin Feng took a deep breath and made up his mind. Then, he closed his eyes and sent his consciousness into Space One. Master. Number One's voice wasn't as stiff as it had been when Lin Feng first met it. It sounded much softer and more coherent. Perhaps it was because it had been with Lin Feng for a long time, but its voice was becoming more and more human. Number One, let's begin the advanced training, Lin Feng said. Master, please set the time, Number One said. Lin Feng thought for a moment and said, let's set it to 5 days for now. Soon, the high difficulty sim appeared in front of Lin Feng. The sim's appearance hadn't changed at all. It was no different from the low difficulty and medium difficulty sims. The only difference was that the high difficulty sim's AI was a level higher than the medium difficulty sims. This change didn't change at all when seen with the naked eye. Only in battle could one feel the change. Taking a deep breath, Lin Feng nodded to Number One. 3, 2, 1. Battle begins. Number One said slowly. Kingdom of Zhao's Capital Academy. Capital Academy was actually just a short name. Its full name was the Kingdom's Royal Special Academy. The Emperor Capital Academy had a history of over 800 years. Back then, it was founded by the Emperor himself. The first dean was the Number One weapon refiner in the state of Zhao, the Water Sovereign. His purpose was to nurture countless talents for the state of Zhao, strengthen the state of Zhao, and resist the rampant demonic beast. Afterwards, in a large-scale war between humans and demonic beasts in the Zhao country, the Water Sovereign had perished together with a martial saint-level demonic beast. As a result, the demonic beasts in the demonic beast forest did not dare to enter human territory for many years, and the status of the imperial family's special academy rose to an unimaginable height. Capital Academy became the holy land in the hearts of the kingdom of Zhao. Every child in the kingdom of Zhao was proud of being able to enter Capital Academy. Over the past few hundred years, Capital Academy had indeed provided a large number of talents for the kingdom of Zhao. It could be said that it was the kingdom of Zhao's talent reserve base. However, Capital Academy's situation was worsening by the day. As the state of Zhao became more and more prosperous, the royal family began to build academies. Every city, province, and state had a large number of academies. Even many county towns had their own academies. Many of these academies displayed shocking teaching effects, especially the newly built academies in the imperial capital. They had powerful teachers, which seriously threatened the Imperial Capital Academy's position. Although Capital Academy was still known as the Number One Academy in the Kingdom of Zhao, its position was beginning to waver. It could be surpassed by the other academies at any time. In the last friendly competition held by the various academies in the Kingdom of Zhao, although Capital Academy still retained first place, the other academies were eyeing it covetously. They could pull Capital Academy down at any time. This caused the principal, vice principal, and various elders of Capital Academy to be burning with anger. They flew into a rage many times, and their requirements for the students in the academy became even stricter and more demanding. This caused a small number of students to be unable to endure this kind of teaching and voluntarily applied to leave the academy. This matter eventually became the laughingstock of Capital Academy, causing the upper echelons of Capital Academy to be so angry that they were about to explode. However, this situation changed 2 years ago, because Capital Academy welcomed a peerless genius. No matter if it was refining or cultivation, he was a super genius that surpassed ordinary people. Perhaps this student's refining talent couldn't be compared to Lin Feng, who was known as the seventh in history, but it wasn't too far off. At least, he wasn't inferior to people like Tang Dingtian and Yang Rui. As for his cultivation talent, it was even more terrifying. At the age of 16, he had already cultivated to the 4th step and was not far from the 5th step. With this student, everyone in Capital Academy let out a sigh of relief. In the next friendly competition held by the various academies in the Kingdom of Zhao, Capital Academy would regain its prestige and establish its position as the #1 academy. Capital Academy, in the luxurious principal's office. Jiangda, the matter I asked you to do, how is it going? Principal Meng Bai asked. In front of the office desk, a middle-aged man respectfully said, 4 invitations have already been sent to Sacred Academy, Zhongnan Academy, Tianqing Academy, and Qinfeng College. After hesitating for a moment, he added, however, the principal of Qinfeng College is very elusive. Until now we still haven't found out his strength and identity, so I only sent the invitations to the vice principal, Xie Wenqiang. Meng Bai smiled and said, it's okay, as long as the invitations are sent. There wasn't a trace of blame in his tone. Jiangda hesitated and asked, Principal, Qinfeng College has only been established for a few months, and there aren't many students. They don't have the qualifications to participate in the friendly competition held by the various academies in the Kingdom of Zhao, right? That's right, those invitations were the invitation to the various academies to participate in the friendly competition. Qinfeng College? Heh. Meng Bai smiled disdainfully. This small academy, even if placed in an ordinary county, is ranked at the bottom of the list. Then why? Jiangda looked at Meng Bai, puzzled. Meng Bai narrowed his eyes and said with a trace of jealousy and resentment, if the Kingdom of Zhao is compared to the nobility, then Qinfeng College is a country bumpkin. It can't even compare to a tile of the Kingdom of Zhao. But this small academy is 3 times bigger than the Kingdom of Zhao. The buildings and decorations in the academy are also several times better than the Kingdom of Zhao. I once sent someone to investigate and found out that the people responsible for the construction of Qinfeng College were the craftsmen of the Kingdom of Zhao. The money used to build the Kingdom of Zhao was also funded by the Kingdom of Zhao. Bang! The sudden sound gave Jiangda a fright. Meng Bai slammed the office table with one hand and said unwillingly and jealously, Qinfeng College was built by the mysterious principal using his connections with the Kingdom of Zhao. I can't accept this. 800 years ago, our Kingdom of Zhao and the Kingdom of Zhao had contributed greatly to the Kingdom of Zhao. Our first principal even died in battle for the people of Zhao. However, the Kingdom of Zhao would rather spend a large sum of money to build an extremely luxurious academy for someone else, but the money spent on our Kingdom of Zhao every year is pathetically little. Why? Why is the Kingdom of Zhao doing this? This time, using the opportunity of the friendly competition, I must let the Kingdom of Zhao know that the Kingdom of Zhao is the foundation of the Kingdom of Zhao. I want to prove that the Bulsh *T Qinfeng College is a pile of *T. Whether it's a competition between instructors or a competition between students, our Kingdom of Zhao will sweep Qinfeng College out of the competition once and for all. I want to let them know that they are wrong. Meng Bai's eyes were red. It could be seen how much resentment he had towards Qinfeng College. P.S. The first update is here. VIP Group 168605329, full subscription required to join the group. Weapon, this is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. There will be prizes for everyone. Follow Kdred's official account on WeChat now. Chapter 3:15. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type dread, and tell me secretly. Meng Bai didn't dare to vent his anger on the imperial family, so he could only vent his anger on Qingfeng College. This time, the Clear Wind Academy was the innocent party that was caught in the crossfire. Moreover, they were kept in the dark. However, Meng Bai did not know the truth of the matter. Although he had tried many times to find out more information about the Cool Breeze Academy, he had not been able to find out much about it. Because Emperor Zhao Duo had personally issued the highest level of gag order, very few outsiders knew anything about Lin Feng and the Cool Breeze Academy. Even if Meng Bai had managed to find out some information, it would only be some unimportant information and would not have much of an impact. As for more information, those who were in the know did not dare to reveal it. After all, they were born and lived in Zhao. If they didn't obey Zhao Duo's order, how could they survive in Zhao? This year's friendly competition is in 10 days. Meng Bai collected his emotions and calmed down. He said, "Before that, I have a task for you." Jiang De said respectfully, "I'll do as you say." Meng Bai was very satisfied with Jiang Da's attitude. He smiled and said, "I don't care what method you use, but I hope that on the day of the friendly competition, all the famous people in the capital will be present. Of course, I will personally take care of His Majesty. It doesn't matter if he succeeds or not, but you must invite the others. When the time comes, I will teach Qingfeng College a lesson in front of everyone. At the same time, I will let the other 3 colleges know that Capital College is the top college in Zhao." This. Jiang De was a little embarrassed. "What, is there a problem?" Meng Bai glanced at him and said lightly. Hearing this, Jiang De took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. He said, "Okay, I will do it." Although it was difficult, he believed that as long as he worked hard, showed his sincerity, and used Capital College's name, he should be able to do it. Moreover, as long as he did this well, there would be a place for him in Capital College in the future. It could be said that this task was a test from Meng Bai. If he passed the test, he would have a meteoric rise in the future. If he failed, his good days would come to an end. Meng Bai patted him on the shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, do a good job. The college's actual combat training is lacking a team leader recently." There was a deep meaning in his eyes. When Jiang De heard this, he immediately became excited and said respectfully and gratefully, "Principal, thank you for your guidance. Well, you can leave first. Come back to me in a few days to report this matter to me." Meng Bai waved his hand, withdrew his gaze, and continued to review the documents. Jiang De bowed respectfully. This subordinate will take his leave. After saying that, he hurriedly left the director's office and began to act. Qingfeng College. In Space 1, Lin Feng had been training for a full 10 years. If converted to the outside world's time, it would be more than 3 days. The high-difficulty training was more difficult than Lin Feng expected. The high-difficulty simulation's combat power was much greater than the intermediate difficulty simulations. Whether it was the instantaneous burst of speed, the control of elemental energy, the grasp of timing, or the sharpness of the attacks, they were all much more terrifying than the intermediate difficulty simulations. Lin Feng was even sure that 10 intermediate difficulty simulations would not be a match for 1 high-difficulty simulations. He could completely defeat the intermediate difficulty simulations skills, but in the hands of the high-difficulty simulations, he had no way of fighting back. After 10 years of non-stop training, Lin Feng could barely dodge the simulation's attack. However, Lin Feng had to be highly focused at all times. If he was careless or reacted half a beat slower, he would suffer a storm of attacks. Under the simulation's attacks, Lin Feng once again returned to the time when he first underwent combat training. He was beaten to a pulp. The simulation's attack frequency was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng had no time to think at all. He had to abandon his past combat experience and rely only on pure combat awareness to dodge again and again. Gradually, he succeeded in dodging the simulation's attack. After 10 years of training, his combat awareness had undergone a metamorphosis. Any action was at his fingertips, and he did not need to think at all. However, just dodging is far from enough. I need to fight back, fight back! Lin Feng clenched his fist and shouted in his heart. Some races were born for battle, such as many monstrous beasts. These monstrous beasts had a cultivation similar to humans, but their comprehension of the law of Earth was relatively shallow. Most of them were not at the same level as humans, but their battle prowess far surpassed humans. This was because they possessed a terrifying physique and terrifying battle awareness. Their terrifying physique made up for their lack of comprehension of the law of Earth, and their terrifying battle awareness directly led to their battle prowess that was even more terrifying than humans. Combat awareness was also divided into different grades. Among the monsters, the howling moon wolf, brilliant tiger, behemoth, and other races were the cream of the crop. Their combat power was even more terrifying. Lin Feng did not have the time to think about why he had abandoned his combat experience and instead displayed greater combat power. At this moment, he had to concentrate on dealing with the simulation's attacks. Otherwise, he would be attacked by the simulation. Gradually, Lin Feng entered a mysterious state. He forgot everything around him, even himself. In his eyes, there was only the simulation that looked exactly like him. Then, he dodged the simulation's attacks again and again. He did not know how he dodged, nor did he think about it. He only knew that he had to do it. Otherwise, he would not be able to dodge it. Therefore, he did it. He dodged the simulation's attacks calmly and easily. In his unconscious state, his control of timing was close to perfection. Every time he dodged, it could be described as perfect. If the carefree sovereign, Star Sovereign, and the others were here, they would probably be shocked. Even Lord Blackrice, the leader of the 3 kings of the Despair Prison, would be shocked. Unfortunately, no one could see this scene. Even Lin Feng himself did not notice it. Outside, during Lin Feng's training, the Emperor Capital Academy made many new moves. First of all, after Jiang Da's unremitting efforts, when his lips were worn out, his shoes were worn out, and he was half dead tired, he finally completed the task given to him by Dean Meng Bai. Zhang Kuang, Zhang Gao, Yang Luqing, Fen Yi, Gan Luo, Yu Zhen, and the other 6-star refiners, 9th-rank powerhouses, and high-ranking officials of the Empire all accepted the invitation and expressed their willingness to attend the friendly competition. Secondly, Meng Bai mobilized all the students and instructors representing the Emperor Capital Academy to participate in the friendly competition. He used the glory of the Emperor Capital Academy to arouse their passion and used generous rewards to strengthen their determination. Through a series of methods, all the students and instructors participating in the friendly competition were mobilized. They carried the greatest enthusiasm and threw themselves into the last few days of training. This also made all of them pay special attention to this friendly competition. Finally, Meng Bai personally went to the Chaoyang Palace to see the current emperor, Zhao Duo, and requested for Zhao Duo to attend this friendly competition and personally motivate the young geniuses of the empire. Originally, Zhao Duo was not prepared to agree. But when he heard Meng Bai mention that Qinfeng College would also participate in the friendly competition, Zhao Duo suddenly became interested and unexpectedly agreed to Meng Bai's request for the first time. This made Meng Bai happy for a long time as he thought to himself, I finally have the chance to show the results of the Emperor Capital Academy to His Majesty. The Emperor Capital Academy made such a big move, and the Sacred Academy, Middle-Aged Academy, and Tianqing Academy all saw it. Because of this, the people from the 3 academies were instantly dissatisfied. They knew that a young student with terrifying talent had come to the Emperor Capital Academy. The Emperor Capital Academy had never lost in the competition between the upper-grade students and instructors, but in the competition between the lower-grade students, They had suffered setbacks time and time again. Now that they had this terrifying talent, the Emperor Capital Academy no longer had any weaknesses. The problem was that it was not a big deal for them to lose. It was not like they had never lost before. But the Emperor Capital Academy had just welcomed a genius student, and they made such a big fuss and invited all the important figures to watch the competition. They wanted to immediately tell the world that their Emperor Capital Academy was the best. This kind of approach was really disgusting. Since you want to invite them, why didn't you invite them before? The deans of the 3 academies were so angry that their teeth were itching. This is an internal friendly competition. Why did you make it known to the whole world? Of course, it could also be said that the grapes were sour because they could not eat them. If it were them, perhaps they would have done more than Meng Bai. As for Qingfeng College, the 3 academies did not put Qingfeng College in their eyes at all. In fact, they might even have the same thoughts as Meng Bai in their hearts. A small Qingfeng College actually sat on such a spacious campus, and the facilities, buildings, and decorations in the campus were incomparably luxurious. It was hard for them not to be jealous. When they thought of Qingfeng College, their hearts were slightly comforted. Forget it, compared to Qingfeng College, we are considered not bad. In this friendly competition, Qingfeng College will be the one to lose face. With Qingfeng College attracting everyone's attention, I don't think we will lose too much face, right? It could not be helped. After all, Qingfeng College did not have many instructors, and even fewer students. It was hard for them not to look down on such a college. As a result, Qingfeng College was once again implicated without knowing it. In the last few days, it was as if the 4 academies had gone crazy. Everyone began to crazily train before the competition. All the manpower and material resources were directed towards this direction, trying to improve in this last bit of time and then achieve better results in the friendly competition. Capital College hoped to slap the other academies in the face, but the other academies hoped not to be slapped in the face. Under such circumstances, naturally, no one was willing to admit defeat and put all their energy into training. Under the influence of the 4 academies, the whole of Zhaodu became a training craze. Only Qingfeng College was not affected at all. They did what they were supposed to do, completely indifferent and indifferent. On this day, Zhaodu welcomed new guests. A large group of people came from afar and went straight to Qingfeng College. However, everyone had seen such groups many times, so they were not surprised. As for where they were going, no one cared. In Qingfeng College, when Xie Wenxiang heard from his subordinates that a large group of people came and asked to see Linfeng, he immediately remembered Linfeng's previous instructions. Then, he said solemnly to his subordinates, "Go and invite them here first. I want to pass on some of the dean's words to them." P.S. The second update is available. Begging for monthly votes, begging for monthly votes, begging for monthly votes. The monthly votes have been used up, and we are left far behind. Refining VIP Group 168605329. Refining VIP Group 204276549. This is a good event for free. Cool phones are waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, WeChat friend, add official account, type Kdred, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow Kdred's official account on WeChat. Chapter 316. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind The Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type Kdred, and tell me secretly. In a small garden in Qingfeng College, the people from the 6 families were arranged to wait here. There were a total of 47 people. 42 of them were members of the 6 families who had been arranged to teach in Qingfeng College. 3 of them were the leaders of the 6 families. They were Xinggang, the head of the Xing family, and 2 supreme masters of the Xing family. The last 2 were just there to join in the fun and gain experience. They were Huang Wenbing from the Huang family and Qin Wulei from the Qin family. They didn't have to wait long before the guard who was responsible for informing the vice dean came back. He said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone, "I'm very sorry. Our dean is not available at the moment. However, he has a few words for our vice dean. Please follow me to see the vice dean first." This Linfeng is too arrogant. A young man from the Lu family couldn't help but frown and grumble in a low voice. Xinggang glanced at him, then smiled at the guard and said, "All right, then I'll have to trouble you, little brother." The guard smiled and said, "It's no trouble at all. It's my job. Everyone, this way please." The rest of the people looked at the young man from the Lu family and couldn't help but shake their heads and smile. They still vaguely remembered the solemn words their family head had said to them before they left. Although Linfeng and our family have had some conflicts, it is undeniable that Linfeng is extremely talented. Not to mention the unfathomable experts around him. He alone is destined to become a top expert in the Xingfeng plane in the future. He may even reach the level of the old ancestor of the Xing family. Therefore, the purpose of your trip is not only to teach in Qinfeng College, but also to find a chance to be on good terms with Linfeng. As long as you can climb up the big tree that is Linfeng, your family will definitely go one step further. In front of these families, for the sake of benefits and the future of the family, there was no hatred that couldn't be set aside. What's more, they were the ones who provoked Linfeng first. Linfeng retaliated after that. Speaking of which, Linfeng was already very merciful by not hurting a single one of them. Even if it wasn't for their families, they were more than happy to establish a good relationship with Linfeng. The people sent by the 6 great clans this time were not marginalized figures of the 6 great clans. On the contrary, most of them were relatively important core members of the 6 great clans. There were even a few who were the sons of the patriarchs of the 6 great clans or the descendants of some supreme being. On the surface, it seemed that they were here to fulfill their promises on behalf of the 6 great clans, but in reality, they were here to gild their names. With the exception of a few, the rest of them were more sensible and could guess the deeper meaning behind the patriarch's decision to send them here. Under the lead of the guard, a group of people arrived at the vice president's office. Xie Wenxiang was waiting outside the office. When he saw the group of people arriving, he heaved a sigh of relief and walked over with a smile. "I'm the vice president of Qinfeng College, Xie Wenxiang. On behalf of the teachers and students of Qinfeng College, I welcome all of you to join us. As the saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling person." Moreover, everyone had the intention of taking the initiative to establish a good relationship with Linfeng, so naturally, they wouldn't make things difficult for Xie Wenxiang. They all replied politely, "Thank you." Xie Wenxiang led the group of people into the vice president's office. Although it was the vice president's office, it was quite spacious. It could easily accommodate 100 people, let alone 40 people. Soft chairs were placed side by side in the room. A faint fragrance filled the air, refreshing the mind. After asking everyone to sit down, Xie Wenxiang got down to business. "It's like this. The president is currently in seclusion. However, before he went into seclusion, he said something that he wanted me to pass on to all of you. Although Xinggang was only the leader and was responsible for bringing everyone here safely, his mission was completed. However, he didn't leave just like that. Instead, he stayed and was prepared to leave after everything was settled." After hearing Xie Wenxiang's words, he smiled faintly and said, "Please go ahead." Xie Wenxiang's expression became serious. He said, "Qinfeng College hasn't started a large-scale enrollment yet. In other words, we haven't enrolled students at all. According to the traditional rules, all colleges will enroll students 1 month after the New Year's Eve. Therefore, all of you can relax for a while. When Qingfeng College's student resources have been replenished, all of you will officially start teaching students. Haha, this is a good thing. Xing Gang chuckled. In addition, Qingfeng College will have 4 grades. Each grade will have 6 classes. The 4 grades are divided into 2 semesters. Each semester is 1 year. In other words, Qingfeng College's students will need 8 years to graduate from the school. Of course, this isn't absolute. Some students are very talented and can choose to skip grades. They can also choose to graduate early. In theory, as long as the students meet the graduation requirements in all aspects, the school will allow them to graduate early. Xie Wenxiang explained in detail. The school will have an assessment every 2 years for each grade. Those who don't meet the requirements will be forced to repeat a grade. Oh right, repeating a grade means that they can't be promoted to a grade like other students. For example, if a student is in the 1st grade now and repeats 2 years later, he will still be in the 1st grade and will study with the other 1st grade students. Speaking of this, Xie Wenxiang admired Lin Feng from the bottom of his heart. This was the first time he had heard of such a college rule in many years. However, it sounded very feasible. Although it hadn't been implemented in detail, he could guess that the effect would be extraordinary just by thinking about it. Father handing Qingfeng College over to Dean Lin was a wise decision. Xie Wenxiang sighed in his heart. Hearing this, Xing Gang and the other members of the 6 great clans were also very surprised. This kind of college rule could be said to be unconventional and unique. They didn't know how Lin Feng came up with it. Of course, Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. He just copied the rules from his hometown and kept most of the rules from his hometown. He just changed some rules that didn't fit this world and formed a new set of rules suitable for this world. After explaining the general rules of the college, Xie Wenxiang entered the most important part. Every grade will have a grade group leader. Every class will have a chief teacher. The other teachers in charge of the class will have to listen to the chief teacher's arrangements and orders. The chief teacher will have to listen to the grade group leader's arrangements and orders. The grade group leader will be directly under the dean's orders and will only be personally supervised by the dean. Everyone's attention was focused. Looking at Xie Wenxiang's meaning, it seemed that he was going to talk about the arrangements for them. Among the 42 of us, the 9th step powerhouse should be the grade group leader. The 8th step powerhouse should be the chief teacher. They thought to themselves. Even Xing Gang thought so, because from the way the rules were set, it just so happened to fit the 6 great clans. But Xie Wenxiang's next words were out of their expectations. Xie Wenxiang looked at them with a trace of apology, saying softly, "Everyone will temporarily be appointed as ordinary teachers for different classes and subjects." Everyone was startled. That youth from the Liu family was even more dissatisfied. "Are you deliberately humiliating us? A powerhouse of the 8th step, not to mention this small Qingfeng College, even in the Emperor Capital Academy, would be able to hold an extremely high position. Therefore, Lin Feng's arrangement seemed to be a bit of an insult to their status." Xing Gang laughed and probed, "Haha, Dean Xie, just now you were joking, right?" "I also really hope that I was joking." Xie Wenxiang helplessly shrugged, "But this is true. The dean said it himself." "Then what about the chief teacher and grade group leader?" Xing Gang asked curiously. "This." Xie Wenxiang looked at them. After thinking for a while, he decided to tell them the truth. The chief teacher and grade group leader will be someone else. The dean has already arranged it long ago and is only waiting for them to take up the position. "Can you tell us who those people are?" Xing Gang was even more curious. If a powerhouse of the 9th step could only be an ordinary teacher, he really couldn't think of anyone else who could be the chief teacher and grade group leader. He originally thought that no matter how bad the people from the 6 great families were, they would at least be able to get a chief teacher. But the reality was clearly different from what he imagined. The rest of the people from the 6 great families also looked at Xie Wenxiang curiously. Although they weren't as angry as the youth from the Lu family, they were still a little unconvinced. If Lin Feng really did it purely to humiliate them, then they would definitely have a knot in their hearts. Seeing their expressions, Xie Wenxiang knew that they must have misunderstood and had no choice but to explain. It's like this. Before all of you came, our Clear Breeze Academy already had a group of guest teachers who were personally invited by our headmaster. As for the position of head teacher and year group leader, they will be taken up by these guest teachers. Speaking of guest teachers, perhaps you all have heard of their names. Xing Gang faintly guessed something in his heart, but it was a little too scary. He pretended not to know and asked with a smile, "Who are they?" The rest of the people stared at Xie Wenxiang and pricked up their ears. Although they didn't say anything, they were also curious in their hearts. Advanced supremacy, carefree supremacy. Just as Xie Wenxiang said the first person's identity, the surrounding people all gasped, his carefree supremacy, a famous supremacy in the Greenwood continent. And in the entire Greenwood continent, there weren't many people who were more terrifying than carefree supremacy. Such a person actually became a teacher of Qinfeng College. This Qinfeng College was really heaven-defying, but their surprise had just begun. Because Xie Wenxiang didn't stop but continued, advanced supremacy, star supremacy, advanced supremacy, fluttering snow supremacy, intermediate supremacy, supremacy Meng Luo, intermediate supremacy, supremacy Tianlei, intermediate supremacy, supremacy Wind Shadow, intermediate supremacy. Every time Xie Wenxiang said a name, the shock on the faces of the 6 big families deepened. In the end, they were completely dumbfounded. Not to mention these 8th and 9th level powerhouses, even the 2 supremacies of the Xing clan, Xing Gang, Huang Wenbing, and Qin Wulei widened their eyes, their throats dry. Wasn't this lineup a little too terrifying? This was a total of 36 supremacies. In comparison, the 42 8th and 9th level powerhouses were like cats and dogs on the roadside, not worth mentioning. Here, the 8th and 9th level powerhouses, and even most of the supremacies of the elementary level, could only be ordinary teachers. Only the top supremacies of the elementary level and 8 intermediate supremacies could be chief teachers, and only the top supremacies of the intermediate level and 3 advanced supremacies were qualified to be year group leaders. This was definitely the most extravagant school in history. The lineup of teachers was so luxurious that it made one's hair stand on end. P.S. The first update is here. Cough cough. Awkward. I'm really sorry I stood you up. Originally, we agreed on 4 updates, but now it's only the first update. Looks like I won't be able to explode today. Today, I went to spend some alone time with my wife. It's been a long time since I went out with her. Today, when she suddenly asked, I didn't have the heart to reject her. Okay, I admit that I'm an otaku. Actually, I'm an otaku. Anyway, I understand. But don't worry, I'll explode in the next period of time and make up for all the updates I owe. What a good activity for a pie in the sky. Cool phones waiting for you. Click on the Chinese website's official account, WeChat friend, add official account, type KDRED, and participate immediately. There's a prize for everyone. Follow KDRED's official account on WeChat now. Chapter 317. P.S. Read the exclusive story behind Weapon Refining Frenzy and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Pay attention to the Chinese website's official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, type KDRED, and tell me secretly. So it's them, no wonder. Xing Gang murmured. The other members of the 6 great clans also gave up, like eggplants that had been beaten by frost. They used to think that they were very important and that Lin Feng needed to rely on them to support Qinfeng College. But now, it seemed that they were thinking too highly of themselves. According to the current situation, with their strength, they could only be ordinary teachers. Even if Lin Feng asked them to be the chief teacher or the leader of the year group, they would not have the courage to do so. They did not think that they were more powerful than the supreme martial artists, especially the carefree supremacy, star supremacy, and fluttering snow supremacy. Now they were convinced. They had no choice but to be convinced. After all, they were so much weaker than them. After a while, Xiaowenxiang explained everything. The group of people listened obediently and followed his orders 100%. Even the young man from the Liu family was well behaved and did not dare to make a fuss. After settling the matters here, Xing Gang and the two supreme martial artists of the Xing family left Qinfeng College as if they were escaping from something. They were sweating profusely and only wanted to leave this terrifying place as soon as possible. 3 supreme martial artists, 8 supreme martial artists, and 25 supreme martial artists of the beginner level. Even when the 8 super clans were at their peak, they could not gather so many supreme martial artists. If it's not necessary, we will never come to this place again. It's so scary that there are so many supreme martial artists in such a small college. Xing Gang said in a low voice as he wiped his sweat and walked out of the Zhao capital. The 2 supreme martial artists agreed. They turned around and looked in the direction of Qinfeng College. Their faces were full of fear. 3 days later, the carefree supremacy, fluttering snow supremacy, star supremacy, and many other supreme martial artists returned. When they heard that Lin Feng was in seclusion, the group of people chose a place near Qinfeng College to stay for the time being. There were many small courtyards built in Qinfeng College. Zhao Duo had specially ordered them to be built in order to satisfy the needs of a group of supreme martial artists. After all, they were all people of status. They couldn't possibly squeeze into a dormitory, could they? They didn't mind, but Zhao Duo couldn't. Zhao Duo was more concerned about such a small matter than they were. The group of supreme martial artists had nothing to do, so they took turns to teach the students. The other supreme martial artists, on the other hand, gathered together to play chess, fiddle with flowers and plants, carve small objects, practice calligraphy, and so on. Their lives were elegant, quiet, and leisurely. It was completely a scene of idle clouds and wild cranes. Space 1. The battle between Lin Feng and the simulation continued and never stopped. 10 days in the outside world was almost 40 years in space number 1. At this time, Lin Feng's hair was disheveled, and he was slovenly. His face was expressionless, and there was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. It was as if he was another simulation. He had forgotten the time, forgot the moves, forgot everything in the outside world, and also forgot himself. He didn't remember anything. He only relied on his instincts to deal with the simulation. Compared to the beginning, his progress was huge. The simulation's attacks were no longer a threat to him. His attacks, on the other hand, caused the simulation to suffer setbacks again and again. Although he couldn't completely crush the simulation of the high difficulty simulation like he did the simulation of the intermediate difficulty simulation, Lin Feng had the absolute upper hand in every battle with the simulation of the high difficulty simulation. He was constantly pressuring the simulation of the high difficulty simulation, causing it to be unable to breathe for a moment. Compared to the simulation of the high difficulty simulation, Lin Feng was undoubtedly the winner of Lin Feng. At this time, Lin Feng exuded a suffocating aura from head to toe. He was like a peerless weapon. As soon as he was unsheathed, his sharp edge was unparalleled, and no one could stop him. After about a few days, the simulation that Lin Feng was fighting with suddenly turned into a puff of smoke and slowly dissipated in the air. Number 1's figure condensed next to Lin Feng. "Congratulations, Master. You've succeeded," Number 1 said calmly. As the simulation disappeared, Lin Feng also stopped his movements. After a few breaths, He escaped from the extremely oppressive environment and the mysterious state just now. He didn't have any consciousness. He just stood there quietly. After a long time, his consciousness slowly came to life. Time, is it time? His voice was extremely hoarse and obscure, as if he was a child who had just learned to speak, but his voice wasn't as immature as before. Number 1 said, "It's almost time, but someone outside is calling for you." Lin Feng nodded. Then, he was silent for a long time. Space One's time reversal was an extremely heaven-defying function, but at the same time, it also had a side effect. Every time Lin Feng finished training, it would take a long time for him to recover. His consciousness would become more and more ancient with the precipitation of time. It wasn't related to experience, but purely the vicissitudes of time. If he wasn't careful, he might lose himself forever and never be able to recover. Fortunately, Lin Feng's consciousness was strong enough. Although it took a lot of time, he gradually woke up in the end. "Oh," Lin Feng said casually. His reaction seemed to be half a beat slower. Then, Lin Feng's consciousness left Space One. He opened his eyes and looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, Xie Wenxiang. Xie Wenxiang felt Lin Feng's gaze and was curious. The president seems to have changed a little. However, he couldn't tell what exactly had changed in Lin Feng. "Xie." Lin Feng paused. "President Xie, why are you looking for me? This sound is weird." Xie Wenxiang thought to himself, but he quickly said, "Headmaster, it's like this. A few days ago, the Capital Academy tomorrow is the day of the friendly competition, so I've specially come to report to the headmaster and ask him to make a decision." He quickly explained the matter in detail. "Do you think we should go?" Lin Feng was silent for a long time and nodded. "Of course we should go." His speed was a little slow, but it was still clear. "You can leave first. I will arrange this matter." Lin Feng waved his hand. "Okay." Xie Wenxiang nodded and turned to leave. But when he reached the door, he stopped and hesitated. He turned his head and asked, "President, are you feeling unwell? Why don't I get a doctor to take a look at you?" Lin Feng squeezed out a stiff smile and shook his head. "No need, I'm fine." Seeing this, Xie Wenxiang didn't say much. He nodded and said, "Okay, I'll leave first." Lin Feng lowered his head and smiled bitterly. This is the after-effect of time acceleration. No matter how good a doctor is, it will be useless. Not long after, Lin Feng walked out of the courtyard and gathered a group of supreme martial artists. As for Lord Black Rice, Poison Eye and Killer, they were enjoying delicious food in the Chaoyang Palace. The Chaoyang Palace was not far from Qinfeng College. A supreme martial artist could rush over within 10 breaths, let alone an earth sage. As long as they were willing, they could come to Lin Feng's side in a breath's time. Hence, they didn't have to worry about the distance. Lin Feng talked with the supreme martial artists for a long time and told them his thoughts frankly. Finally, he said apologetically, "Seniors, I'll have to trouble you again this time." Supreme Heavenly Thunder was the most forthright. He laughed and said, "Such an interesting competition. Even if you didn't mention it, we would go and take a look. Since we have nothing to do, it's not bad to have some fun once in a while." Unfettered Supreme Martial Artist joked, "This is much easier than attacking the 8 great clans." Haha. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. "Thank you, seniors." After settling a group of supreme martial artists, Lin Feng thought for a while. Since he was going to be in the limelight anyway, he might as well bring the people from the 6 great clans along. Once he took action, he would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. This was in line with Lin Feng's style. If he made a big deal out of this, it would undoubtedly be extremely beneficial to Qinfeng College. This was an opportunity for Qinfeng College to rise. As long as Qinfeng College made a name for itself this time, they wouldn't have to worry about not being able to recruit students next year. "Okay, let's do that." He silently made up his mind. Hence, after a while, Lin Feng gathered the people from the 6 great clans. When he saw Huang Wenbing and Qin Wulei, Lin Feng was surprised. However, he didn't have the time to think too much about it for the time being. He directly opened his mouth to explain his intentions to everyone, and then quietly looked at everyone. Since we are the instructors of Qinfeng College, we will naturally listen to the dean's arrangements. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. The people from the 6 great clans also started to learn to address Lin Feng as the dean. Seeing that no one objected, Lin Feng was very satisfied. He said, "Go back and rest first. Tomorrow morning, we will gather at the square outside teaching block number 6. When the time comes, we will go to Emperor Capital College together." The friendly competition was held at Emperor Capital College, so they had to go to Emperor Capital College. Everyone nodded and left quietly. Huang Wenbing originally wanted to stay and talk to Lin Feng. However, seeing that Lin Feng didn't seem to be in the right state, he didn't want to disturb Lin Feng and left with the rest of the group. Qin Wulei silently looked at Lin Feng. She felt guilty towards Lin Feng and didn't dare to talk to Lin Feng. After everyone left, she left with the rest of the group. She didn't even have the courage to look at Lin Feng again. She was afraid that Lin Feng would ask her about the time she stole the divine soul from Qinfeng College. Although it was the Qin clan's order and not her own intention, she was still an accomplice. After dealing with the matter, Lin Feng returned to his courtyard. "Boss, why do I feel that you have become so strong after sleeping?" Nono looked at Lin Feng in confusion. Although it hadn't seen Lin Feng fight, it felt that Lin Feng was much stronger than 10 days ago. Lin Feng smiled faintly. "Is that so? Maybe." There were some things that he didn't dare to say, even in front of Nono. Who knew if any Earth saint would be bored enough to eavesdrop on their conversation? The first space was the only thing he could rely on. If he lost the first space, then he would have nothing left and would fall back to his original state. It was the greatest secret in his heart. Unless he stood at the top of the pyramid and was invincible and fearless of any threat, he would never expose the existence of the number 1 space. Time passed slowly. The light of dawn drove away the darkness and brought light. On this day, the city of Zhao was especially lively. Everyone was talking about the friendly competition in the streets and alleys. As the main star of the friendly competition, the Emperor Capital Academy was also unusually high profile. Many guests had arrived early in the morning. The first to arrive were those who came uninvited and had decent status. For example, some 7th and 8th level powerhouses, some 5-star refiners, some imperial officials, and people from aristocratic families. As the sky grew brighter and brighter, more and more important people began to arrive. Reporting, Lord Zhang Gao has arrived. Reporting, Old General Gan Luo has arrived. Reporting, Refiner VIP Group. 168605329, full subscription required to join. Refiner VIP Group. 204276549, this is a good event where a pie falls from the sky. Cool phones are waiting for you. Follow click on the Chinese network's official account, add a friend on WeChat, add a public account, type KDRED, and participate immediately. Everyone has a prize. Follow the official account KDRED on WeChat right now. Chapter 3:18. Report. Lord Zhongquang has arrived. Whoosh. Everyone in the hall looked over at the same time. Zhongquang was a rank 9 Earth warrior and a 6-star weapon refiner. He had a straightforward personality and was a famous figure in the state of Zhao. Before the audience could speak, the receptionist at the gate shouted again, "Report. Lord Yang Luqing has arrived." Whoosh. The gazes that stopped on Zhang Quang instantly shifted to Yang Luqing. Although Yang Luqing was also a rank 9 Earth warrior and a 6-star weapon refiner, her status was much higher than Zhang Quang's. She was known as the #1 weapon refiner in the capital. Even the royal family's chief weapon refiner, Fun Yi, admitted defeat. However, everyone's gazes paused on Yang Luqing for a moment before shifting to a young girl beside her. I didn't expect that even Master Yang's granddaughter, Yang Rui, would come. In the last Young Masters tournament, Miss Yang was ranked 4th in the finals, right? Ranked 4th in the entire Greenwood continent's younger generation, Miss Yang's future is limitless. Who knows, her achievements might not be lower than Master Yang's in the future. The crowd did not deliberately lower their voices, so Yang Rui could roughly hear them. However, Yang Rui did not have much of a reaction to these praises and compliments. Her expression remained calm, neither arrogant nor impatient, and she maintained a calm heart. She followed Yang Luqing's footsteps and walked forward step by step. With the arrival of these important figures, the Capital Academy became even more lively. Not long after, the receptionist shouted with joy, "Report! Lord Fun Yi has arrived." Fun Yi had also arrived. As the royal family's chief weapon refiner and a rare rank 8 Earth Mage, Fun Yi's status was above Yang Luqing's. Especially to some official figures, Fun Yi's deterrence was far greater than Yang Luqing's. Young Master Tang has also come. Someone recognized Tang Dingtian at a glance. He was ranked 2nd in the last Young Masters tournament. I didn't expect Master Fun to bring him here. But that's right. Young Master Tang is Master Fun's favorite student. He has the qualifications to come with Master Fun to watch the tournament. Yang Rui and Tang Dingtian looked at each other from afar and nodded lightly as a form of greeting. Fun Yi laughed and said, "Elder Yang, you're here so early." Yang Luqing stroked his white beard and replied with a smile, "Not at all. I was just one step ahead of you. I haven't even sat down and you're already here." The group of people were familiar with each other, so they chose the nearest seats and chatted as they sat. Yang Luqing looked at Zhang Kuang, Fun Yi, and the others beside her and couldn't help but tease, "If this wasn't Imperial Capital Academy, this old man would have thought we were back in the Young Masters tournament." Fun Yi and the others were stunned. They looked at the surrounding people and couldn't help but laugh. They really do look alike. However, the main characters of the competition this time had changed from their disciples and granddaughters to people from the various academies. "Miss Yang, I heard that you've fused more than 4,000 types of myriad casting technique. Congratulations!" Tang Dingtian stood side by side with Yang Rui and cupped his hands with a smile. Yang Rui stood quietly like a hibiscus and revealed a faint smile. "Young Master Tang, you're overpraising me. You've already fused more than 6,000 types of myriad casting technique. You're much more powerful than this little girl. In comparison, this little girl's insignificant achievements are probably not worthy of young Master Tang's attention." Tang Dingtian smiled bitterly and shook his head. "The world is full of rumors. I've only fused more than 5,000 types of myriad casting techniques so far. It's not much more than Miss Yang." "Perhaps." Yang Rui smiled faintly and didn't dwell on this matter. After a moment of silence, Tang Dingtian looked into the distance. He seemed to be sighing and reminiscing as he whispered, "It's been 8 or 9 months. I wonder how that guy Lin Feng is doing now." Him? A figure appeared in Yang Rui's mind. Her memory returned to the moment during the Young Masters tournament. Although half a year had passed, she still couldn't forget that guy who seemed to be low-key but actually loved to show off. She would never forget that flamboyant look for the rest of her life. However, he does have the right to be arrogant. I haven't seen him in a long time. I wonder how his refining skills are now. Tang Dingtian sighed. 8 or 9 months. With his talent, I'm afraid he should be at the top of the 5-star blacksmiths, right? When Lin Feng was refining the 3-mark spirit armor, neither he nor Yang Rui were present. After Zhao Duo issued a gag order, Fun Yi, Yang Luqing, and the others didn't leak this matter, so they were still kept in the dark. Yang Rui nodded in agreement. It should be about the same. Report. Dean Shui of the Sacred Academy has arrived with the mentors and students of the Sacred Academy. Everyone stopped talking and looked at the gate. A white-haired old man slowly walked through the gate with a group of mentors and students. Everyone was wearing the same white gown, which was very similar to the uniform of the Church of Liberty, but the pattern on the chest was different. The Sacred Academy has developed rapidly in the past 100 years, which has seriously threatened the status of the Emperor Capital Academy. Moreover, the people of the Sacred Academy are unusually united. If the Emperor Capital Academy performs like the previous friendlies, it's very likely that they will suffer a big setback. Not necessarily. After all, the Emperor Capital Academy is the #1 academy in the state of Zhao. Whether it's the quality of the students or the strength of the teachers, they can't be ignored. A skinny howling moonwolf is still bigger than a dog. The foundation of the Emperor Capital Academy over the years isn't that easy to surpass. I'm afraid that the people of the Emperor Capital Academy will be arrogant. These words were all heard by the Dean of the Emperor Capital Academy, Meng Bai. His face was gloomy, and he sneered in a low voice. Just you wait. This time, my Emperor Capital Academy will definitely be in the limelight, sweep away all the other academies, and forcefully take first place. A moment later, the people of the South Central Academy and the Tianqing Academy also arrived. The teams of the two academies majestically walked through the gate and were then led to the prearranged places. The 4 academies of the state of Zhao were all present, and the last one was missing, Qingfeng College. They should be coming, right? Meng Bai's heart was a bit uncertain because the time of the competition was approaching. The people of the Sacred Academy, South Central Academy, and Tianqing Academy had all arrived, but Qingfeng College still hadn't arrived. Thus, he began to suspect that Qingfeng College was afraid of making a fool of themselves, so they simply hid in their nest and didn't have the courage to come. After a while, when the time of the competition was approaching, Meng Bai's heart slowly sank to the bottom. Could it be that Qingfeng College was really afraid? This wasn't the result he wanted. Without Qingfeng College, no matter how good the Emperor Capital Academy's results were, there would inevitably be some flaws. Report. His Majesty has arrived. The words of the usher instantly pulled Meng Bai's thoughts back to reality. He hurriedly stood up and walked towards the gate. He loudly said, "This official greets His Majesty." The Emperor Capital Academy and the Middle Academy were all official academies. The higher-ups of the academies were also part of the Empire's officials. Thus, in front of the Emperor, they would usually call themselves officials and not commoners. Yang Liuqing, Zhang Kuang, Zhang Gao, Gan Luo, Fun Yi, and the others also stood up and smiled. "Greetings, Your Majesty." The surrounding aristocratic families, experts, and refiners who came alone also hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Everyone was quite excited, especially those who were relatively lower in status. They never thought that the standard of this year's friendly competition would be so high. The lineup of guests was so terrifying. Not only were Zhang Kuang, Yang Liuqing, and Fun Yi all present, but even the great emperor came to watch the competition. This gave them a rare opportunity to be in close contact with these important people and even the emperor. No wonder they were so happy. Dean Meng's reputation is really big. He actually invited so many important people. Even the emperor, who is busy every day, came to watch the competition. TSK, amazing! It seems that we have underestimated Dean Meng in the past. Listening to the whispers of the people around him, Meng Bai couldn't help but feel intoxicated. How long has it been? How long has it been since he heard people flatter him like this? No, it should be said that he often heard people flatter him, but the problem was that the status of those people was far inferior to the people present. The same words, when spoken by different people, naturally had different effects. "My beloved ministers and gentlemen, Please dispense with the formalities. Zhao Duo smiled and waved his hand. Today is the friendly competition between the 5 great academies. I am just an ordinary guest, so there is no need to be so polite. Zhao Duo's arrival caused the atmosphere to reach its peak. The instructors and students of the 4 great academies were incomparably excited. Their blood was boiling, their faces were flushed, and their eyes were incomparably determined. They strived to show their best side in front of His Majesty and the other important figures. Report. The people of Qingfeng College have arrived. This time, the voice of the welcoming guest sounded as if he hadn't eaten for dozens of days. He was weak and dispirited. He didn't even ask for Lin Feng's name and directly said, "The people of Qingfeng College." One could imagine how much contempt he had for the people of Qingfeng College. Meng Bai gave a look of appreciation to the welcoming guest, then immediately smiled and looked at Lin Feng and the group of people behind him. The rest of the people also looked at the gate. Most of them had a trace of doubt in their eyes. Qingfeng College? Is there such a college in the capital? They didn't seem to remember Qingfeng College as the number 1 college. That immature boy is the dean of Qingfeng College? Meng Bai had never seen Lin Feng before, so he subconsciously had a trace of contempt. The corner of his mouth raised into a contemptuous smile. He actually came later than His Majesty. This boy's courage is commendable. Generally speaking, the more important the person, the higher the status of the person, the later he or she would appear. This was not an explicit rule, but a tacit rule of the whole world. Now that the people of Qingfeng College had arrived later than His Majesty, Zhao Duo, did this mean that they thought they were more powerful than Zhao Duo? The crowd didn't know if the people of Qingfeng College thought so, but they were looking forward to the end of Qingfeng College. If one offended the emperor, even if one was a level 9 expert, or even an early-stage supreme martial artist, he or she wouldn't be able to survive in the capital. However, when the crowd looked at Zhao Duo, they didn't see any displeasure or anger on his face. Instead, he turned around with a bright smile and waited until Lin Feng and the others came to him. He smiled and said, "Mr. Lin, I wish you all good results today." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Lin Feng smiled faintly. The crowd's jaws dropped. This didn't make sense. Yang Luqing, Zhang Kuang, and the others were also surprised, not because of Zhao Duo's attitude towards Lin Feng, but because they didn't expect Lin Feng to come. His Majesty must be being sarcastic, definitely. Those who didn't know Lin Feng convinced themselves. P.S. The first update is here. Looking for monthly votes. Weapon Refining VIP Group. 168605329, full subscription required. Weapon Refining VIP Group. 204276549. Chapter 319. That's weird. Why are there so few young people in Qingfeng College? That's right. Now that you mention it, it's really weird. Could it be that those behind are all students? That's more like a joke. Look at them. Most of them are at least 30 or 40 years old. Which college's students are so old? The strange composition of Lin Feng's group puzzled the onlookers. However, the people from Qingfeng College looked normal. They didn't seem to care about what the onlookers thought of them. After walking a few more steps forward, Zhao Duo smiled and said, "Mr. Lin, seniors, I'll go over there and sit for a while. I won't disturb you. I wish you all the best in the competition." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Lin Feng saluted. After they separated, Meng Bai walked up slowly and said to Lin Feng, "Are you the dean of Qingfeng College?" "Hello, I'm Meng Bai, the dean of Capital College." He had a gentle smile on his face, looking harmless to humans and animals. He seemed very benevolent and friendly. However, there was a hint of strangeness in his tone. If one didn't listen carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. Lin Feng pretended that he didn't notice anything strange. He smiled faintly and said, "I'm Lin Feng, the Dean of Qingfeng College." "Mr. Lin, welcome." Meng Bai smiled and said, "We're all deans of Capital College. Please take care of us in the future." "Of course." Lin Feng waved his hand and said, "Let's improve together." Meng Bai felt disgusted when he heard that. It was as if he had eaten a fly. A trace of disdain flashed across his eyes without leaving a trace as he thought contemptuously in his heart, as expected of a proud and arrogant brat. "You're just an insignificant dean of a small college. How dare you take care of me? Improve together? Don't compare your little academy to my Emperor Capital Academy." Haha, that's right. However, he still maintained a kind smile on his face. After a pause, he said, "It's almost time. Dean Lin, please enter the arena first so that you won't delay the competition." Lin Feng chuckled and said, "All right then. Dean Meng, please continue with your work. I won't disturb you any further." At the moment he left, Meng Bai couldn't help but shake his head and ridicule in his heart. "I hope you'll still be able to laugh after a while." Little did he know that Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh in his heart, and he felt that Meng Bai's actions were laughable. Either this kid has already given up on the competition and directly admitted defeat, or this kid has specially spent a large sum of money to invite some experts to pretend to be students of the academy to participate in the competition. Meng Bai had been paying attention to the group of people behind Lin Feng. Seeing that all of them were older than the average student, he had a guess in his heart. However, no matter what the situation is, Qingfeng College will be the one to lose face in the end. If it was the former, then Emperor Capital Academy would win without a fight and become even more famous. If it was the latter, then even if Meng Bai did not say anything, Qingfeng College's reputation would be ruined. After all, the audience could see clearly. However, he would never be able to guess Lin Feng's thoughts and the comprehensive strength of Qingfeng College. Otherwise, he would be drenched in cold sweat. "It seems like this friendly competition is more interesting than we thought," Fenyi laughed. Fenyi chuckled. "Wherever Lin Feng is, it's inevitable that some interesting things will happen. This time shouldn't be an exception." Looking at Xiaoyao supremacy, Fluttering Snow supremacy, Star supremacy, and the others behind Lin Feng, Yang Luqing smiled bitterly and said, "Of course it will be interesting. Even Senior Xiaoyao and the others are here. I really don't understand what Lin Feng is planning to do. This old man has a faint feeling that this friendly competition organized by all the major academies in the imperial capital will have a result that many people won't be able to predict." Zhang Kuang looked at the two of them and said with fear and trepidation, "It can't be." "Do you really think that Senior Xiaoyao and the others?" Fenyi shook his head and said, "It's too early to say anything now. We'll know what's going on later." Behind them, Tang Dingtian and Yang Rui were puzzled. They frowned slightly and asked, "Senior Xiaoyao and the others? Who was Senior Xiaoyao?" For Fenyi, Zhang Kuang, Yang Luqing, and the others to call him senior, could he be the legendary supremacy? Thinking of this, the two of them looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. "This Lin Feng, we haven't seen each other for a few months, but he's actually crossed paths with the legendary supremacy." The two of them were shocked and bitter. "The gap between us seems to be getting bigger and bigger." Originally, they thought that they were about to catch up to Lin Feng. However, when they saw Lin Feng, they realized that it was all wishful thinking. While they were improving, Lin Feng was also improving. Moreover, Lin Feng's improvement was much greater than theirs. After everyone was seated, Meng Bai personally went up to the Imperial Capital Academy to host the event. He looked around with a smile and saw that the people sitting around him were all famous figures in the imperial capital. Yang Luqing, Zhang Kuang, Fenyi, the top noble families, and even Emperor Zhao Duo were all present. A strong sense of pride welled up in his heart. He wishfully thought that it was the Imperial Capital Academy and his charm that attracted these big shot. He thought that everyone was giving him face and the Imperial Capital Academy, which was why they were invited. First of all, thank you, Your Majesty. Meng Bai's opening speech was to thank Emperor Zhao Duo and flatter him. Then, he thanked the others for being present. It was only when everyone was about to fall asleep and the conversation had become incredibly dull that he was startled. He quickly stopped the topic and returned to the main topic, saying, although the friendly tournament is held every 4 years, the Imperial City has another Cool Breeze Academy this year. This is the first time the Cool Breeze Academy is participating in the friendly tournament, so I will have to explain the rules of the tournament again. However, before I explain the competition rules, I'd like to ask everyone to welcome the people from Qingfeng College. He deliberately highlighted Qingfeng College to let everyone have an impression of Qingfeng College first. Then, when it was time to slap them in the face, it would feel even better. Clap, 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 sparse applause sounded. Meng Bai smiled proudly in his heart. He had already expected this result. He didn't pay attention to who was clapping, but continued to say, the friendly competition is divided into 2 rounds. The first round is a competition between students, and the second round is a competition between mentors. The competition between students is divided into 3 levels: advanced students, intermediate students, and low-level students. Each level of competition is divided into 2 types: combat competition and refining competition. Each type of competition is divided into 3 rounds. Each school will send out 3 students to fight or compete with the other contestants in order. The rules of the competition are the Deer Pursuit rules. That is, a student can participate in 3 battles in a row. If the student defeats all 3 opponents, then the other 2 students from that side won't need to fight again and win the competition. His explanation was very detailed, but not many people from the Clear Wind Academy were listening, which made him feel a nameless fire ignite in his heart. They are still not serious at this time. It seems that this Qingfeng College is really hopeless. Thinking of this, Meng Bai's heart calmed down. After explaining the competition between students, he began to explain the competition between mentors. The mentors' competition is similar to the students' competition, but there is no division of grades. The rest is the same as the students' competition. For example, it is divided into combat competition and refining competition. Each type of competition is divided into 3 rounds, and the same Deer Pursuit rules apply. When he finished explaining the rules of the competition, only 10 minutes had passed. Next, please draw lots to determine the order of the competition. After saying this, he looked directly at Lin Feng. He didn't care about the others. He just wanted to see what Lin Feng would do next. In other words, he wanted to see how Lin Feng would make a fool of himself. Boss, wake up. Nono flapped its wings and shouted. Lin Feng came back to his senses. With sleepy eyes, he asked confusedly, "What's wrong?" Nono was sweating in its heart. It said, "Boss, the old man has finished." Oh, he has finished. Lin Feng just came back to his senses. Well, I see. He stood up. Meng Bai stared at Lin Feng. He thought that Lin Feng would go to draw lot. Unexpectedly, after Lin Feng stood up, he didn't do anything. Instead, he turned to him and said innocently, "Sorry, Qingfeng College abstains from the competition between students." Yes, abstaining. Although the disciples of the Clear Wind Academy had occasionally received the teachings of Ji Zun, it had only been a short period of time. In addition, their foundation and talent were much weaker than the 1 in 10,000 geniuses of the imperial capital. Therefore, whether it was in terms of cultivation or refining ability, they were slightly weaker than the outstanding geniuses of the Imperial Capital Academy. Although the difference was not by much, it was basically impossible for them to win. Since the result was already decided, Lin Feng didn't want to waste the students' energy. It was better to let the students continue their studies in the college and save as much time as possible. However, the words abstaining were heard by others. The meaning of Lin Feng's words changed. Abstaining? He actually abstained directly? It can't be? Even if it's ridiculously bad, shouldn't he at least try? He doesn't even want to try. What is this? It seems that we guessed right. Qingfeng College is really just going through the motions. Haha. What can you expect from such a small college? In my opinion, this kid is smart. Since he will lose regardless of whether he competes or not, he might as well abstain directly to avoid embarrassment. Scattered discussions came from all around, more or less with a hint of ridicule. However, Lin Feng was unperturbed and acted as if he didn't hear anything. He put on a "it has nothing to do with me" look. Meng Bai frowned. He didn't expect Lin Feng to directly abstain. This was like using all your strength to hit a ball of cotton. It was very uncomfortable. Although he achieved his goal, he wasn't as happy as he expected. However, he didn't show his emotions in front of others. Instead, he maintained a smile. In the student competition, Dean Lin represents Qingfeng College to abstain. Therefore, the representatives of the colleges can now start drawing lots. Looking for monthly votes. Refining VIP Group 168605329. Full subscription verification is required to join the group. Refining VIP Group 204276549. Chapter 320. Forfeit. Zhao Duo, Yang Luqing, Fun Yi, and the others were astonished. This wasn't Lin Feng's style. However, when they thought about Qingfeng College's situation, they immediately understood. Qingfeng College was originally a small college in Jianglong County. Perhaps it was still passable in Jianglong County, but compared to the students of the various provinces, it was far inferior. Now, Qingfeng College was facing the four great colleges of the imperial capital, and the disparity between the students was even greater. Even though Qingfeng College had countless terrifying old monsters as instructors, it was still impossible to make up for the disparity between the two in a mere 2 months. Although Supremes were powerful, they weren't omnipotent. Fun Yi chuckled. It's rare to see that guys suffer a setback. Yang Luqing said, "It's too early for you to be happy." "What do you mean, Elder Yang?" Fun Yi turned around and asked in confusion. Don't forget that this friendly competition is divided into 2 parts, the student competition and the instructor competition. Lin Feng directly forfeited the student competition, but what about the instructor competition? Yang Luqing took a deep breath. With Lin Feng's character, if he suffered a setback in the student competition, I'm afraid he'll get his revenge in the instructor competition. Fun Yi finished the last sentence for Yang Luqing, then glanced at Lin Feng in the distance. You don't say. With Lin Feng's character, he might really be planning to do so. Zhang Kuang interrupted, "That's why I'm going to rest for a while. I'll only have the energy to watch the competition after the student competition ends." Fun Yi and Yang Luqing didn't pay attention to Zhang Kuang. Instead, they couldn't help but think of a problem. From the actions of the carefree sovereign and the others, it seemed like they had already joined Qingfeng College and become Qingfeng College's instructors. Otherwise, why would they represent the Clear Wind Academy to participate in this insignificant friendly competition? Fun Yi and Yang Luqing didn't think that they were just here to watch the show. Moreover, they could have just watched the show from the sidelines. Why did they have to join the college's team? The two looked at each other and saw a trace of excitement in each other's eyes. You've guessed it? Yang Luqing probed. Fenny nodded. It looks like old Mr. Yang has also guessed it. After a moment of silence, they raised their heads almost at the same time and said at the same time, "Why don't we go and talk to Lin Feng?" After saying that, they looked at each other in surprise and then laughed. Let's go. Qingfeng College hasn't risen yet. Let's go and get a place first. I'm afraid we won't have a chance if we're late. The two of them stood up and walked toward Lin Feng. Of course, it wasn't that they wouldn't have a chance if they were late. It was just that since Lin Feng was right in front of them, they might as well finalize this matter so that they wouldn't have to go back and forth in the future. That would be too troublesome. In the square below, the students of Imperial Capital Academy, Sacred Academy, South Central Academy, and Tianqing Academy had already started their competition. The first competition was the low-level students' combat competition, followed by the low-level students' equipment refining competition, followed by the mid-level students' combat competition, the mid-level students' equipment refining competition, and so on. Finally, it was the high-level students' equipment refining competition, which was also the most eye-catching student competition. Originally, everyone's attention was on the competition in the square. However, when Yang Luqing and Fenny suddenly stood up and walked toward Lin Feng, it attracted many people's attention. Why did Lord Yang and Lord Fen suddenly stand up? Where are they going? Hey, it looks like they're going to Qing Feng College's Dean Lin. Why are they going over at this time? Could it be because of Qing Feng College's announcement of forfeiture? Many thoughts and guesses surfaced in everyone's mind. They were extremely curious. For a moment, they didn't have much time to pay attention to the students' competition. Instead, they kept an eye on Yang Luqing and Fenny. In a flash, Yang Luqing and Fenny arrived at Lin Feng's side. Mr. Lin. The two of them smiled and cupped their fists in greeting. Since they were guests, Lin Feng also smiled and cupped his fists in greeting. Mr. Yang, Mr. Fen. The unfettered sovereign and the others were expressionless. They completely ignored Yang Luqing and Fenny. The surrounding people pricked up their ears and listened carefully. They themselves didn't realize that their attention had been completely focused on Lin Feng's side. They had neglected the students who were working hard in the competition below. Even Zhao Duo had placed most of his attention on this side. He didn't care about the competition below and lacked interest. Those students who were competing were destined to be disappointed. They thought that everyone was here for them. However, in reality, there weren't many people who were truly paying attention to them. Moreover, some of the people who were originally paying attention to them couldn't help but be attracted by Yang Luqing and Fenny's actions. Mr. Lin? When they heard how Yang Luqing and Fenny addressed Lin Feng, they couldn't help but be shocked. At this moment, they were bewildered and started to suspect Lin Feng's identity. Could it be that this kid is the young master of some large family? Or is he the young master of some large power? Their minds were filled with rich imagination. Or is he the child of some important figure? While they were silently guessing, Yang Luqing said with a trace of respect, Mr. Lin, this old man has a presumptuous request. I hope Mr. Lin can agree. Fenny, who was at the side, also echoed, Please agree, Mr. Lin. Lin Feng was startled and asked, What's the matter? He also didn't understand the purpose of Yang Luqing and Fenny's visit. He had no idea what these two fellows were singing. Cough cough. Yang Luqing said awkwardly, This old man hopes that Mr. Lin will allow this old man's untalented granddaughter to join Qing Feng College and become a member of Qing Feng College. In terms of cultivation, he was a 9th stage Earth warrior. In terms of refining ability, he was the #1 refiner in the state of Zhao. However, he wanted to send his genius granddaughter to Qing Feng College. This action immediately stunned everyone. Everyone suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. Old Master Yang wanted to send his granddaughter to Qing Feng College to study? This was definitely the biggest joke in the Xingfeng Plain. Could it be that Qing Feng College taught her better than Old Master Yang himself? They disagreed in their hearts and secretly cursed. Old fool! By doing this, he's simply ruining his granddaughter's future. For a moment, they couldn't help but mourn for Yang Rui. With such an old fool grandfather, her future was worrying. However, at the highest point of the stands, Zhao Duo couldn't help but secretly laugh. Old Master Yang is still as shrewd as ever. Yang Rui's eyes widened as she looked at Yang Luqing in confusion. She didn't understand why Yang Luqing would suddenly make such a seemingly absurd decision. Lin Feng looked at Yang Luqing with a faint smile, but he couldn't help but praise him in his heart. This old man was very smart. He turned to look at Fenny and smiled slightly. Mr. Fun, your goal wouldn't be the same as old Master Yang's, right? Fenny smiled embarrassedly and said, Yes, I hope that Mr. Lin will agree to let my good-for-nothing disciple join Qingfeng College. Of course, if it was just to let him join Qingfeng College, he wouldn't be so embarrassed. What he meant was that he hoped that Tang Dingtian could enter the best class and receive the guidance of the best instructors. Naturally, he didn't have enough confidence to make such a rash request. He wasn't the only one. Yang Luqing also had the same intention. It was just that the two of them didn't say it out loud. Everyone had a tacit understanding, so there was no need to say it clearly in public. With Lin Feng's intelligence, if he couldn't even guess this, then he wouldn't be Lin Feng. One Yang Luqing wasn't enough, and now there was another Fenny. This time the audience was really shocked. Yang Luqing wanted to send her granddaughter to Qingfeng College, and Fenny wanted to send his personal disciple to Qingfeng College. This matter was filled with a bit of strangeness. Was this Qingfeng College, which they had never heard of before, really that amazing? Everyone's eyes widened. They felt that their brains weren't enough. No matter how they thought about it, they couldn't figure it out. What was the background of Qingfeng College? Yang Luqing was a 9th-rank Earth warrior and a 6-star weapon refiner, while Fenny was an 8th-rank Earth mage and a 6-star weapon refiner. With their strength and ability to refine weapons, did they really need to send their granddaughter and disciple to Qingfeng College to study? Could Qingfeng College really teach better than the two of them? Crazy, this is crazy. Either Yang Luqing and Fenny had gone crazy, or the audience had gone crazy. In any case, they couldn't understand what was so amazing about Qingfeng College. What was so amazing about it that made these two big shots do this? If Yang Luqing and Fenny's actions puzzled them, then Lin Feng's next words made them even crazier. Lin Feng nodded at the two of them. After thinking for a moment and pretending to hesitate, he put on a solemn and serious look and slowly said, For the sake of the two of you, I can make an exception and agree to this matter. But you also know that my Qingfeng College isn't a place where just anyone can enter, especially with that kind of class. I think the two of you have already guessed it. Therefore, if it's possible, I would like to ask Mr. Yang and Mr. Fun to donate some materials, essence stones, and so on to enrich the treasury of Qingfeng College. Only with abundant resources can the best teaching effect be achieved. What do the two of you think? The audience was dumbfounded. This guy really dares to make such a request. In their opinion, it was already a great blessing for Qingfeng College that Yang Luqing and Fenny were willing to let their granddaughter and disciple enter Qingfeng College. However, they never expected that Lin Feng would not only put on a difficult expression, but he also reluctantly agreed in the end. Moreover, he even casually extorted a sum of money. This was simply pushing the two genius students away. They couldn't help but shake their heads in their hearts and mock inwardly. This kid is simply lifting a rock and smashing it on his own feet. It would be strange if Yang Luqing and Fenny agreed to such a request. With that thought in mind, they once again turned their attention to Yang Luqing and Fenny. Seeing that Yang Luqing hesitated for a moment, their smiles immediately froze, and their hearts couldn't help but thump. It can't be, right? Then, Yang Luqing seemed to have made up his mind and said, Mr. Lin, you should know that this old man is also an artificer. I usually waste a lot of materials when I practice, so I don't have much left. How about this? This old man will first pay 200 sets of rare materials and 3 sets of precious materials. In the meantime, this old man's granddaughter will study in Qingfeng College. After that, this old man will think of a way to get some materials for Chinfeng College. After saying that, he said nervously, I hope Mr. Lin won't mind. When the audience heard this, they almost vomited blood. Mind? P.S. The third update is here. Requesting monthly votes. Artificer VIP Group. 168605329. Full subscription verification required to join the group. Artificer VIP Group. 204276549. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.